What's going on, everybody? This is your host, Walker Bailey, and I've got a special guest today. I'm joined by Dakuchi Betts. We're going to kind of break down the bracket kind of from a betting angle, talk about these first round matchups, and kind of see where we sit on a lot of these things. So, my friend, thanks for joining us. How have you been, man? What's been going on?
I've been doing better, my friend. I got beat up pretty bad over the conference tournament week. Wasn't a very successful endeavor for yours truly. Placed 7 futures, hit 1 on Gonzaga, so didn't exactly hit any plus money there. And just over the past 10 or so days, been struggling with sides, but get a nice little reset button here. Get some non-conference games to look into, maybe some matchups that we're not so familiar with. Hopefully, can turn this ship around a little bit. Sides have been a bit of a problem since January. Totals we've been good on, but sides it's been tough. It's been tough, but you just got to keep plugging away. We're beating the closing line a fair bit most nights. It's just not falling our way. So hopefully the variance turns around in a big way here, and we can start cooking with gas, have an absolute massive tournament, and hopefully one of Marquette, UCLA, or San Diego State wins this thing. San Diego State not looking good playing Alabama in the round of 16 if they get there, but the other two I don't hate. So hopefully we can cash one of those big futures tickets I have, and we'll go out on top.
Yeah, I mean, conference tournaments week was a ton of fun. I carried 4 features into Saturday just to watch those 4 teams go 0-4 on Saturday. So that was tough. UAB was a real kick in the nuts. That one felt like it was going to be a walk in the park, really, from the moment the line dropped, but they just kind of decided they didn't want to play in the NCAA tournament. So,
Yeah, I was disappointed they couldn't get it done. Watching Jelly cook is always something that's must see TV, man.
he was so bad on Saturday. Like I know
Yeah,
he's
he wasted them all the game prior, man. He was lights out the game prior, and then he didn't have it on Saturday for whatever reason. Maybe it was something FAU did. I didn't get a chance to watch that game in its entirety, unfortunately, but just
yeah.
a tough
Well,
situation.
I didn't either because when it was like 22 at halftime, I was like, all right, I think I'm good. I think I'm out.
Yeah, same with me, man. I watched maybe the first 15 minutes, and I was like, oh, they just don't have it today.
All right, so we'll kind of start over here in the south portion of this bracket. We're gonna go pod by pod and just kind of start and work on each half of the bracket and just kind of see if you've got anything or if I've got anything here. So we don't have the predetermined 16 seed. Will you be looking to attack Alabama in any type of way? Come that
Um, I,
16.
I I might lean the first half under. Um, over the past couple years, I've kind of noticed that the number one seeds they kind of come out not necessarily looking to crush the other team in the first half. At least offensively, they're not really pushing pace. And Alabama, if their threes aren't missing, I think they're going to win pretty easily over a 40-minute span. But they get good enough looks that the threes are eventually going to drop. They have enough shooters that they'll go down. But depending on who the team is, I'll have to look a little bit closer when the time comes. But a little first half under is probably something I'll end up playing in three or four of these 1 versus 16 matchups. I think over the past 5 years, I was doing some number crunching earlier. First half under in the 1 to 16 or hitting at 59%. So not exactly a huge ROI, but definitely something I'm looking to kind of maybe cash in on a little bit. It's something that, like I said, I think looking past the other team a little bit offensively, maybe not always getting the best shots up, can sometimes be something I look to play. And obviously, we don't know the matchup yet, but we'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah,
If it's Texas A&M Corpus Christi, it'll probably not be who I'm playing in that one. I think that's the matchup, right? Am I getting that one right?
yeah, I think it's like Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, and Southeast Missouri State.
Yeah. So if we see SEMO, I'll probably play the first half under. If we see Texas A&M Corpus Christi, I probably won't. Uh, Corpus Christi plays pretty fast. They turn the ball over a lot. Not exactly a great situation to be in going against Alabama's defense. So I might even look Alabama first half, depending on the number against Corpus Christi. Against SEMO, I probably won't have anything. I haven't really had a good feel on that conference in general, and I was a little bit surprised that they managed to make that run. So that's kind of where I'm at on the Alabama, the 1 versus 16. We'll probably play something small, like I said, first half only type of thing.
Yeah, and I think too the difference with this Alabama team, and even at the tempo they play at, I think that what people don't realize is how good they are on the defensive side of the basketball. Like I don't think people give them enough credit for that. So I do think that first half under would be something to look at, and also with a team that you know is going to chunk a bunch of threes, playing on a neutral site, playing in those stadiums that you probably haven't played in before. I think they're at Legacy Arena in Birmingham. So Alabama may have played there once or twice, but it's not a familiar setting per se. I do think that you could get some early shooting variance the negative direction for Alabama, which would lean to that first half under. So I agree. I think it's a good look. I'm not going to touch the spread. I just think, especially after how Alabama looked in Nashville in the SEC tournament, if you tried to take the 16, you could be jumping in front of a wagon. And if you take the one, laying all those points, you're definitely victim to a backdoor there. So probably just going to stay away from Alabama in general, at least in that first round. And then we'll kind of see who wins this next matchup in that 8-9. I don't have any feel for the 8-9 at all. Maryland sucks away from College Park, but I'm not sure that West Virginia is really good either. I think West Virginia is laying 2 on a neutral floor to Maryland. You have anything here?
I'm going to monitor this line pretty closely. I think if we see, I'm kind of expecting some kind of late action on West Virginia to come in. Maybe if they get up to 3.5, I might play Maryland. Like you said, though, the Terps have just been awful away from home. I'm not really sure I trust their coach, the coaching matchup in terms of Maryland. I definitely like Huggy more. Obviously, I think most people feel that way. He's a great coach in March. Their press is kind of something that really gives teams problems, and a lot of teams are in the Big Ten aren't necessarily pressing the way that they do in other conferences. So I'm wondering if Maryland will kind of have some trouble with that. But like you said, I don't really have a great feel for this one. I haven't really played a whole lot of Maryland all year. My numbers haven't really liked them, but they've also, I kind of don't necessarily trust what my eyes see with them either. So this one might be one of my few games where I don't have much on the first, in this first little quartet of games.
Yeah, I think that if I'm gonna play it, I would actually like it to come down a little bit so that I can grab a cheaper price on West Virginia on the money line. I think that I'll probably go ahead and pick them just because I trust Huggins a lot. And also Maryland's another team similar to Alabama that's going to shoot a ton of threes. Uh, I just feel like West Virginia will get it. I was really hoping that West Virginia would end up in Purdue's little quartet, just so that way I could pick West Virginia to the Sweet 16 and let Huggy Bear pull out that old press Virginia against Purdue and just press them into a 20-point win. But we didn't get that. So I think that this team, whoever wins that game's a 1 win, and then they're headed home anyway. So
Yeah, they don't match up. Neither of those teams really match up with the type of team against Alabama that you're going to need to beat the Crimson Tide right now. I think just as in this conference, in this little in the South bracket in general, Alabama probably couldn't. I tweeted it last night. I think I saw you tweet something similar that out of all the 1 seeds in the past 2 or 3 years, I think this is maybe one of the easiest roads I've seen in my recent memory. Obviously, I'd have to go look back, but stylistically, I think they match up very well against everyone in this bracket. I have San Diego State, not to jump too far ahead, getting to that Sweet 16 matchup, and I think Alabama is just they have a guys who can cover Matt Bradley, and I think offensively they're going to give San Diego State problems. Teams who can shoot the 3 ball well against San Diego State really do damage against their defense. So we'll see how it goes, obviously, but I think it's to get into a little bracketology talk a little bit here while we're here. I think that if you're picking Alabama to win and you're in a big kind of a bigger pool, I don't necessarily think there's a whole lot of value. I saw one of the guys on Twitter said early projections have Alabama at 53%. People picking them to win the championship. Just a crazy number. 1 second, I'm gonna go grab a drink of water here.
Yeah, so I'm with you there. I'm with you there on the Alabama thing. Like, it is the easiest draw. I think I did tweet something about it. If I didn't, then I definitely said something about it. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just and I think that with the Brandon Miller stuff, I think that had a lot to do with why they had those lulls and why they played bad in the middle of the season. But I just can't seem to get that off my head that sometimes with Alabama, the high level of basketball just seems to go. Like, it just seems to go away for games in a row. And so it makes me wonder if they're really capable of winning. I mean, capable is not the word, but I mean, I don't know that they can string together enough games of that high quality in order to win a national championship.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with you on that. I think probably since about January, I've been saying I think Alabama has the highest ceiling, but of any team in the country. But whether we get that ceiling night to night, it's going to be interesting. And I know a lot of people like Nate Oates. I'm not necessarily sold on his ability to in-game change all the type of things that you're going to need to stylistically set up matchups. We'll see. We'll
He's
see who they
also
get.
not been a good NCAA tournament coach. Like,
No,
even
exactly.
At Buffalo, they had a 3-point variance game to eliminate that, Arizona team, and then, like, that pretty mediocre Kentucky team just absolutely
Wipe the
waylaid them
floor.
2 nights later,
Yeah.
like, just absolutely ran them off the floor, and then at Alabama, like, he's had teams like the team with John Petty and all that, and, like, they really should have been in the Final Four, and competing for a national title, and they lost to that magical UCLA team. Um, I don't know that he's like, I think I told someone at the beginning of the year, and I don't think I have changed my mind. His style of play is a little bit, to me, too radical. Like, I think there has to be some more feel to it. Like, it's very analytics based. Everything is threes or at the rim. The problem is it's a lot more of threes than it is at the rim. Like, they don't as much try to get to the rim. It's better this year because Brandon Miller gets to the rack a lot, but I just think when you shoot that many threes, you're just asking for a dud at some point.
Absolutely, especially rims, no home court advantage, all those type of things. They bring in the variance to the highest level. I think this is kind of something I talked about on my future show a lot. I don't buy into the threes being the be all end all. I think at the end of the day, in one of these tournaments, you're going to find the team who's going to be able to make those shots contested and hard, and you're going to have to score tough baskets on the inside. And like you said, Brandon Miller is a great equalizer, but I don't know. He's obviously maybe the best player in the country right now, or best like wing player, guard player in the country right now going forward. I'm just not certain that we won't find someone who can kind of match him defensively and make it hard for him. And then outside of that, they're kind of just living and dying by the 3-point shot most nights. And like you said, that's a scary proposition to be in my estimation. I want people who are going to be able to go to the rim a little bit more. Maybe a secondary ball handler can create his own shot. And I don't know if Alabama has that at the highest level. I don't have them winning this thing, so obviously my opinion is that they don't. But we'll see how it unfolds. They're obviously, like I said, they're the heavy favorite right now if you look at the betting board.
Speaking of teams that are gonna chunk a bunch of threes, we'll kinda get to this next one. I know you've got an official in this game, San Diego State and Charleston. I'll let you take the floor here and talk about your Aztecs.
Yeah, so I like San Diego State. I think
I like them big, I think.
yeah, I was going to say a similar thing. I think stylistically, Charleston's up and down, likes to play tempo. That's not going to be. I'm not going to guarantee that's not going to happen, but it's going to be very hard to do against a San Diego State team who is one of their coach is one of my favorite coaches in the country. His defensive play call, his defensive sets, the way that they switch, the way they rotate, it makes it incredibly hard. They do a good job of defending the three. They force you to hit mid-range jumpers, which is not necessarily something Charleston. I mean, they have guys who can create shots and make shots. They've illustrated that. You don't win almost. I think they won 31 games this season, right? 30
Yeah,
games or whatever.
31,
They
30, something like that,
yeah,
yeah.
30 games this season. You don't do that without road scores, and I just think that it's a big time step up. I know the Mountain West is kind of it's bit me in the ass. Last year, for example, I was kind of a little bit higher on the Mountain West than the rest of the public was, and I was proven awfully wrong. But I think this is a team I like a lot. I think they can get past in the next round as well, depending on who they get, especially if they get Virginia. That's kind of a stylistic match I like a lot. I just think Matt Bradley's the type of guy that he's going to relish this chance. I would like him to pass the ball a little bit more. I would like him to have a little bit better shot selection. But I think at the end of the day, the size down low that San Diego State has, the experience that they have from their coaching standpoint is just going to be too much for a Charleston team who's going to be very trendy. My one thing is I was thinking maybe wait till Thursday to try to get a better number on San Diego State, but I was not shocked, but I was a little bit surprised to see it go the other way last night. So I hopped on this morning after all the dust settled a little bit. I got them at what, 4.5, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I know
just
it's
gonna
sitting
check right
five and a
here.
half. I know it's sitting 5.5, 6 now.
Yeah,
It's
I
way up
got them. I got them at pretty juice 4.5, minus 120 at 4.5. So
yeah.
I'm liking that number a fair bit right now. I wouldn't be surprised if. I mean, it's always hard, right? You feel like kind of the trendy underdogs where you can get some love in the betting market. That doesn't always happen. A lot of these, just the money's pretty sharp at this time of year. People know what the fuck they're doing for the most part. So I wouldn't be shocked if Charleston gets past them, but this is probably my favorite play out of the first 4 games here. I think San Diego State's can handle them pretty easily. And when Charleston has been forced to play slow, their offensive kind of has dropped down in 0.5 points per possession on a per possession basis so far this season. So I just think San Diego State's going to make those possessions harder than their opposition has for at least the past 2 or 3 months, and I think it's a big step up for them. I like the Aztecs to get it done.
Yeah, and I think too what you'll see too, like I think you'll see some more public bettors maybe as a reaction to last year and that really fluky loss that San Diego State had to Syracuse, where Syracuse just made a gazillion
Everything.
threes.
They made everything, man.
And really honestly, like San Diego State was missing wide open shots and Syracuse was missing or making contested shots, which if you're betting on San Diego State, that's really what you want is your opponent to take contested shots and for you to get open shots. And so I think when you factor in Charleston, when you factor in San Diego State and really just the Mountain West performance in the last couple of years. I think I saw a stat they're like 3-16 in their last 19 tournament games.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been ugly.
which I think is going to lead to a lot of people being like, "Oh, Mountain West, we're going to pick against the Mountain West. Here we go." Like I just think stylistically you're right. How does Charleston get back up for a really high quality opponent after playing the 340th ranked schedule in the country? You know, they played some high quality opponents early, but that was back in November. Like, how do you get it back up for an opponent of this quality after not having seen one in a really long time? I just think there's a lot of reasons to like San Diego State here. I'm fully aligned. I think that the Aztecs get it done. And then that makes for an interesting next game. America's Cinderella, the Paladins. They've got Virginia in the first round. I feel like everybody I've talked to, everybody I've asked has already bought the price on Furman. The line has come down. It was 5.5, or it was 5.5, 6 at open. I think it's down to a flat 5 now. I think 90% of public tickets, according to the Action Network, have been laid on Furman. Listen, I understand the stylistic matchup here. I understand why people like Furman. It feels like Virginia's being a little bit slept on.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I think I'll probably end up playing Virginia live if they get down in the first half, to be honest with you. I believe in Tony Bennett. As much as it pains me to do so because they burned me on a future for them to win the ACC. They were in the driver's seat. They were as high as minus 265 at one point to win the ACC. Ended up not winning the ACC regular season title. That was kind of a kick dick for me. But I think that I'm always liable to go against these Cinderellas for the most part, especially the trendy ones. I think a lot is made every year about upsets in this tournament, but there's really one every 2 years gets beyond the Sweet 16. This isn't something that happens all the time. As much as we like to believe it, as much as we remember the ones that do. I like Furman. I think that they're going to give Virginia all that they can handle, but I don't know if they have the cojones to get it done. I think Virginia's defense is still kind of as bad as the ACC was. They had some teams who could kind of score the basketball, who were very comfortable playing slow. That doesn't really set up well for Virginia. They want to slow down teams who want to play fast, and I think that Virginia can kind of, although Furman doesn't necessarily play all that fast, I think they can get it done here. Like I said, I don't have anything pregame. I will play Virginia live if they get down in the first half and we get a plus 265 type of number with it down 6 or 7. I don't know if we'll see that number. That's just me procrastinating a little bit here based on the line. But if we see something like that, sorry, go ahead.
No, so the only thing you worry about too is just with that pack line. You do worry about Furman making a million threes. That's really the only thing. Yeah. Is you worry about Furman coming in, and of course because TV people are cruel, it's like our second game on Thursday. So like if you are really struggling to pick who you think is going to just outright win this game in a bracket, you have to just deal with it first thing Thursday morning. You don't get to like think about it for a while or whatever. And yeah, part of me wishes that the line was even lower so I could just grab some Virginia money line, but I don't want to lay a money line with a 5-point favorite.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly where I'm at coming in on the live line. That's kind of exactly what I'm thinking here. Even if it's maybe they're trailing by 2 at halftime or something like that, take them there. Well, it'll be probably minus 165, something along those lines.
I would love Virginia to be down like 10-4 at the first media timeout.
Yeah, that is the ideal situation. That's kind of what I was. That's kind of something similar. I have 12-6 in my little note binder over here actually. Yeah. So very similar.
I would love for Furman to hit like 3 threes right out the gate. and just like, the line drastically shift with the permit or public hammering Furman, I would love to come in and get like a minus 115.
Yeah, that would be ideal. That's exactly what I'm hoping to see happen. But we'll just see Tony Bennett get the job done. They'll lead the whole game and will not be able to get any action on it probably. So
Yep. So we'll slide down here. This next one really interests me because Creighton was a preseason darling. I have a futures ticket on them that is almost certainly going to burn. They've got NC State in the first round. Line I think is 5.5. I lean NC State here. I lean to the Wolfpack.
really?
Yeah, I do. I trust their guards more than I trust Creighton's guards. I think Jarkel Joyner and Terquavion Smith are built for this tournament. Creighton has 3 wins over tournament teams since January 1, so there's not a lot of substance. So there's a lot of fluff to that resume. I just think that I trust their guards more in a game that I probably would make closer to 3.5, 4. I just think I just think that I would like to have the 5.5, knowing that I can probably survive late game fouls too. I just think it's a game that comes down to these last couple of possessions.
Yeah. See, I kind of I'm a little bit on the other side of this one. I don't like the number. I think, like you said, I would like it at 3 or 4. I would be taking Creighton. It's kind of right in that dead zone for me where I'm not going to be able to find much value on either side. But I'm kind of obviously the North Carolina State guard play is going to be a challenge. But I think Creighton does a good job defensively. I think we've seen over the past month or 2 months now. Obviously, like you said, they haven't necessarily been playing the best the best level of competition, so to speak. They're not being able to get those wins against the big teams in the Big East, but I think that the defense is solid enough. I think the ACC has been pretty bad. I think North Carolina State enjoyed a very down year in that conference, and I think that I think Creighton has the pieces. I know they've not necessarily played at their best. You question about their ball handling sometimes, but I don't really know how NC State deals with Kalkbrenner. I think at his best, he's still one of the best players in the country, in my estimation, one of the best big men. And I think they can hit outside shots against this NC State team who gives them up a little bit more than people realize. So I don't have a play on this one. I think Creighton survives a close game, like you said. I think, the late game fouling, 5.5, the more I talk myself into it, that's a pretty good number on the Wolfpack, but I just can't see them winning outright. And that number, I can see them winning outright, obviously. I don't think they do. So at that number, I'm just going to be staying away from this one. I like Creighton a fair bit. And maybe I'm going against you. I don't have a Creighton ticket, but part of me is wishing that I do. Looking at this bracket, looking who they get, if they can get past North Carolina State, they'll get Baylor, UCSB, which we'll talk about next. I think they can probably they can beat Baylor. I haven't been high on Baylor all year. This is one of the teams I'm going to be looking to fade.
Well, yeah, and we'll talk about it in just a second, but I'm really fascinated to talk about that matchup. Yeah, I think Creighton wins the game. Like if you're picking a bracket pool, like you're just all right, we're picking straight up who wins. I'll have Creighton advancing. I do think that I want NC State in the points. It's just a lean for now, and as people say, it's been a hot topic, especially lately on Twitter. Leans don't count for shit. I'll play NC State if it reaches 6, because usually 6 is right where you're like, okay, like this is like, can we just keep the game close? And I do think that Terquavion Smith and Jarkel Joyner keep it close. And so I'll wait on it to get to 6. If I can get 6, 6.5, I'll probably pull it. Not at 5.5. It's just like you're waiting on that one little last bump up to 6, and that would be where I would pull it. Especially too if it's a relatively close game on a neutral, which I think we all kind of expect, then also the back door will be wide open. So I think that that's kind of where I'm looking on that one. But let's get to this next one. I'm fascinated. I already know you played it. I'm playing the same thing you played. UCSB.
Yeah, I cashed out and I played a better number. I know I was watching the Right Angle Sports stream. They played Baylor. So as soon as I saw that, I went over to my book. I bet 9-9 up in Canada. They hadn't moved it yet. I cashed out of that. Just because you're going to always get a little bit of better value when Right Angle Sports plays the other side on you. I just think that they're wrong flat out. This hasn't been the best season for the guys at Raz. So maybe last year, the year before that, I'd be a little bit more hesitant to go against them in these spots. But I've watched a lot of Baylor this year. Most people probably have watched a lot of the Big 12 game. It's been kind of the premier conference all year. I just think defensively, I don't believe in what Drew's got them doing. They give up way too much on the inside. They don't stop dribble penetration very well at all. That leads to easy pass offs on the inside. They don't really have a bona fide rim protector who does a good job of kind of staying out of foul trouble and altering people's shots. So I think in this matchup,
That's a nightmare with this matchup.
exactly. And I think I'm checking the line right now. I think I saw it move. It had moved up a little bit earlier to 12.5. I'm just going to double check if it's still there. Where is it now?
Yeah, let me see. I just kind of habitually check DraftKings because I have the app on my phone. It's not my preferred
Back
sports
down.
site.
So it went up to 12.5. It's back down to 11.5. I got it at 12. So obviously there's been a little bit of buyback, which again kind of just makes me feel a little bit stronger about it. Obviously Baylor's three guards. They're great players. Don't get me wrong. If they're hot, they're a tough team to beat. But I just they don't do enough defensively for me to really be able to lay double digits and against a Santa Barbara team who can score the basketball, man.
And they have one of the highest rim rates in the entire country. Like they want to
exactly.
get downhill and get to the rim. Like that's what they want to do, and that's what Baylor can't prevent their opponent from doing. And so I don't know that I can get there with an outright win for Santa Barbara.
I
I
can't
just
get there either. I
I
want
can't
to
get
so
there.
bad.
I can't get there, but I do think that like it's one of those where I'll tell you what, like I didn't just pick up the bracket and write Baylor in. Like
No,
that was
yeah,
not you
I'm right
really
there with
like
you.
you really like I bet you see Santa Barbara. I wish that I had waited, but I got a flat 11. Obviously, I could get a better number now. Um, but I do think that this game is close just because I think Santa Barbara is going to be able to score. And that's what really scares you with underdogs, man, is you just when you know you're not going to be able to stop what they want to do and it's a terrible schematic matchup, then that's when underdogs become pretty live. And I'll be watching early and there may be like a live money line fire at some point because usually you can tell pretty quick with those types of games where if things are going to go squirrely, I'm probably gonna. I wouldn't be surprised to see Baylor throw a zone at them.
I was
Um,
about to say that's my one concern about the money line is that um, they do have a good coach. A coach has won one of these things before, and that I think with a week to prepare for this team, I think it'll be hard to ignore the fact that they just don't have they don't have the guys to stop the dribble penetration and the high pick and roll. One way to do that is kind of throw a zone at them. So, like you said, if Baylor's zone is effective, it's gonna make it a lot more challenging. But I think UC Santa Barbara still has the shooting to keep the game close as well, even shooting over the top of the zone. I know that's not necessarily their calling card. They like to get to the bucket, like you said. They need to get to the bucket. I think even against the zone, if you can get inside the teeth of the zone in the high post. I haven't looked up at their cutting stats just yet. I meant to do that a little bit later for this exact reason, but like I can't get there on the money line. I think Baylor kind of finds a way to get it done. Their experience, their know-how, their they played a boatload of tough games in the Big 12, and I think that kind of gets them through here in terms of a bracket situation. But anything under 10, I think I'd be probably playing on Santa Barbara. Like I played 9.5 last night, so I guess that tells you everything you need to know.
yeah, right. So moving down to that 7-10, Missouri, Utah State, another Mountain West team that I just very naturally ran to the window to back. Um, I like Utah State here. I think they've been undervalued. I think a lot of people have tried to poke holes in that resume because they didn't have any Q1 wins, but then they picked up a couple. They lost to San Diego State, but that game was pretty close. It was really competitive. Just two high quality
Very
teams kind of
competitive.
doing
Great
battle.
game, man. Great
And
game.
I just like Utah State here. I like the guards. Dennis Gates. I think he's coached an NCAA tournament game at Cleveland State, but this is a little bit different, being not a favorite, but being a higher seed and kind of being the hunted rather than being the hunter. And I think Utah State's a little bit better basketball team. That line shot up. I think from 1 to 2.5. It's back down to 1. I I'll wait and kind of see. I'm hoping it'll close around a pick where I can get Utah State. I love this Missouri team, but they don't guard anybody super particularly well. If threes don't fall, they are the ultimate live by the sword, die by the sword. A lot like some of these other teams we talk, even more so than Alabama in a way, because a lot of the stuff that Alabama can do well to make up for that, Missouri can't do.
Missouri camp. Yeah.
And so
Um, I took Missouri. I'm on the other side of this one. I've been one of those guys trying to poke holes in this Utah State team all year. It hasn't really worked all that well for me, unfortunately. But a captain must go down with the ship sometimes. I think. I
By the
think
sword, die by the sword, just like the Tigers.
no, exactly, and I think that as good as Utah State has been, the one thing I'll say about the Mountain West is that they don't really have a shooting team like Missouri. New Mexico is kind of maybe something that we thought might be that the wheels fell off completely. Boise's not necessarily going to kill you from the outside. Nevada's not necessarily going to kill you from the outside. I don't necessarily Utah State seeing this type of challenge in terms of defensively, and I think that I was looking at the shot quality metrics. They give up a lot of open catch and shoot threes. If Missouri can get those looks, they've shown that they can get those looks. If they can knock them down, I think them at +2 is a decent look for me in my estimation. I think any way you slice it, though, this game's going to be tight. It's going to come down to kind of who can make their shots. I just think that this might be a little bit of an overreaction in terms of a 10 facing a 7. I think we even might see a little bit more money come in on Utah State. I might end up kicking myself when push comes to shove come Thursday morning and we see, Utah State -3. But I still think the Tigers can get it done here. That's just kind of where I'm at. My numbers, like Missouri, they have them as a half-point favorite, so I'm getting 2.5 in terms of in terms of my value or whatever you want to call it. So I might be wrong. I've been wrong about Utah State all year, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think the Tigers get past them here today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't fault you. It's a 7-10. It's essentially a toss up. So, and honestly, Missouri has the guy that can take over the game with Kobe Brown. So, like, that's definitely something that you have to keep in mind. The best player on the floor will, in fact, play for the Tigers. So, any drama with the 215 Arizona Princeton here? I don't like on the spread. I don't know. It just feels like Arizona handles business, and maybe
I like
Princeton.
the over. That's what I
Yeah.
haven't played it yet. I'm looking at some kind of trends for the overs in these first games. They're not looking the greatest, so I'm wondering if we'll see some money come in on Thursday morning that kind of might push this number down, and I can grab it then. But Arizona, they can play fast. Princeton can actually score the bucket pretty well. They have a couple guys who can shoot the ball from the outside. Arizona's going to give you open looks. They're not necessarily. They play transition very well offensively. Their transition defense leaves something to be desired. So I like Princeton. I like the over in this one. I probably won't play it in the first half. I will probably just play it game time if we can get it. If I can get it down a couple numbers, even if it doesn't come down that much, I think I'll probably end up playing the over. I haven't played a whole lot of overs, but all year. But I think my numbers like this one, so kind of got to trust them. The one thing I've done well so far this season, it's at 154 on my screen right now. I'd like it at 152, 153 and a half, a little bit more. But 154 is I got it at 156 and a half in my model. So I think that when the push comes to shove here, I think Arizona kind of does whatever they want. I wouldn't be surprised if they score 90. That just means Princeton needs to do 60 or so. I think especially the back end of that Arizona deep bench. If they're up big, that they just don't play any defense. They don't take great shots. They play almost almost faster than the starters do. So I think the over here is going to be a decent look, especially if we get some money coming in on the under.
Yeah, I think so. I think you looked at the total there. I don't think you messed with the spread. Someone tried to talk me into Princeton being live the other day, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm good."
The talent discrepancy, man. Even if there's a schematic advantage, I haven't necessarily seen a real time schematic advantage in that game, but just the athleticism that Arizona has, it's very tough for me to imagine that Princeton gets good shots when they're playing their top 8 guys. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
I'm hoping Arizona jumps out to 15, 17 point lead at the half, and they kind of just cruise in the second half. We see 70, 85 points scored in that second half, and then the over is easy money, but we'll see. Easier said than done.
yeah, I think so. Purdue's got the other 16 seed playing. Just gonna kind of not even pay attention to it and just assume they're going through.
Yeah, no interest at all. Especially, I
I
don't have
mean,
any interest on the totals either in this one. Like I'll probably, like I said, out of principle, I might end up playing the first half under. Depends who they get. Really, just depends how much they want Edie to score in that first half. How much they want to play him. Neither of these teams have anyone that can. If the big teams don't have anyone that can handle them, these smaller schools really have no chance against them. Especially these two teams. this is probably the least entertaining game out of any of the first round games, in my estimation.
I think
Purdue's
this
kind
is
of
probably I think this is probably the worst region of the four.
yeah, I agree with you there. The most, I guess you could say in that respect, the most wide open, the two.
Yeah, probably so. So we'll skip to the one everybody's talking about. Memphis FAU, probably top of the not top of the list, but one of the games that people are talking about. Um,
Fun game for Friday night, man.
yeah,
Fun
man.
game
A
for
lot of
Friday night.
people, and I'll kind of lead off here. A lot of people have already penciled Memphis into the Sweet 16. Just they're going to beat Purdue. I'm not just totally sold that they even won the first one.
I agree with you there, man. I don't believe I in one of my brackets I have Memphis going through. I'll probably that's a $5 bracket with a couple of my buddies, so I'm not taking that one that seriously. But in terms of this game itself, um, you know, I have a really hard time believing in Penny in these situations. I know they got past Houston. That's a big win for them. Big, massive game. I wish I would have had a Memphis
Lots
future.
of mitigating circumstances for Houston there,
Exactly.
though.
Exactly. They
I get ridiculed pretty bad for saying that Penny can't coach. So
Yeah, I don't think you're alone though, man. Like he's proven that he can get some big time recruits relative to what Memphis has gotten since Calipari left. But I just I don't know, man. I don't like their sets on offense at all. They tend to kind of just go ISO if the pick and roll doesn't work all that effectively. They don't really have another option to go to, and I
it's
question
very
to
NBA. It is very NBA like. It's a lot like Calipari in a lot of ways.
no
Uh,
exactly.
I don't. I will say this: the only thing I fear, and I'm probably going to take FAU in the points, but and I think it's 3 now. Like I think you can get a
Yes.
full 3 with FAU, and I actually project FAU at like a pick, and so definitely taking FAU there. I just I fear Kendrick Davis taking the game over late. That is
Yeah,
the only
that's
thing that you fear, is that you just really worry about Penny basically not having to coach and FAU not being able to guard Kendrick Davis.
No, yeah, I agree with you. The one thing I guess that will go in our favor if we're going to go against them is that you know what they've played some big time guards in their conference, not just Jelly. The guy from Northern Arizona is kind of the same type of player, full green light, downhill scorer. Um,
Western Kentucky's got some guards too.
exactly. So they've got a little bit of experience going against it. The Jelly just he wasn't taking good shots, but he never really does. So it's kind of hard to take too much out of that game against against UAB. Sorry, whether they were the ones making him struggle or whether he just kind of didn't have it that night. I'm right there with you. I think I'll probably end up taking FAU money line and hedging in a little kind of a hedge in terms of my bracket. I'll probably have Memphis going through because I think that this is this is to me the first round. This is the best matchup. Actually, the one right under this one is going to be a good game too. But for Friday night, this is I got my popcorn ready for this one. I got work off all weekend. I let them know a couple weeks ago that the kids will be busy, and this is one. This is appointment viewing for me. I think getting the potential for me to get to see Penny crash and burn is something I'm downright giddy for, and I'm hoping we can see it happen.
Yeah. Any worries about Dusty May at 32 years old coaching this tournament game, or do you feel
Yeah,
pretty?
big time worries, man. Big time worries. But that said, it's the Sean McVay effect. It's you see some of these young coaches, they're there for a reason. They're savants. They can communicate well. They can rep. They can really. He's going to be well prepared, man. That's what you can guarantee. He's gonna have his guys bought in. So the coaching matchup, if he was playing a Wiley vet, if they were going up against someone, even someone, even
Yeah,
someone
it's
like
not like he
McCaffrey,
drew. It's not like he drew Izzo.
yeah, or even I was gonna say even like someone like McCaffrey, a big personality who's gonna be hooting and hollering on the sideline. I'd have a little bit more concern about maybe him not getting the whistle and that kind of thing. But Penny's kind of a reserved guy. He's not necessarily. I haven't seen him too many times get teed up, be on the referees, and that's kind of sometimes what I'm a little bit concerned about in these games where there's I guess Memphis isn't a huge program, but they have a little bit more notoriety in Florida Atlantic. We see kind of the Zebras they have a little bit more impact than they should sometimes, but I'm not necessarily super concerned with that one. I think that you're right though. I think that if in that if they do get through that Purdue game, that might be a little bit of a thing to keep an eye on. I forgot about how young that young man is. I'm almost as old as he is.
Yeah, I know, really. And then I will say this about FAU though: the one thing that they're going to be able to do, and this is true for both Memphis and Purdue, theoretically in these hypothetical scenarios, they're just going to be able to spread them out. Like they're going to be able to spread you so much, and everybody's going to be such a weapon. They've got legitimately 5 or 6 guys that can create their own looks. They have some legitimate size on the interior with Golden,
Yeah, I
and
was
like
gonna say that's
those.
the big thing that I like in this matchup against Memphis is um, they're not going to be overpowered or out athletic. They're not going to be
Yeah, I guess out athleted. They're not going
out
to be less
athletic.
athletic than Memphis.
Yeah, they're not going to be at such a big deficit that it's going to be a concern about rim protection. I think, like you said, he's a stud, man. He's a really solid mid-major player. He's a really good interior defender. He doesn't get bullied. He does a good job avoiding fouls. I think he's only had 2 fouls in the first half 3 times all year, which for a big man is really tough to do. So, and the more we talk about it, the more I find myself liking Florida Atlantic here. So, you
Yeah,
know,
well, and then you also just looking into that round of 32 matchup, you have a rim protector who can probably not nobody can stop Zach Edey, but
make it hard.
he can at least make him work for it, man. Like, and if that's the case, I really then because then you're talking about an FAU team who will have an athletic advantage over Purdue, and their ball pressure will give Purdue a lot of problems.
Nightmares, absolute
Nightmare.
nightmares.
It would
Agreed.
be Purdue saw this draw, and deep down Matt Painter thought, well, shit.
Yeah,
Because, like, there's no win for Purdue, no matter what happens that Friday night in Memphis FAU. There's no win for him there.
agreed.
All
Agreed.
right.
We're both on the same page. I'm a little bit bummed where Purdue ended up in this bracket.
I hate
Um,
Purdue, man. I hate Purdue. I hate that they shot 83% in the first half from 3 to kill my Buckeyes.
you were on the Buckeyes from the jump, brother. You
I
were
thought I will say this about Ohio State. Out of principle, you just have to bet them in that game. I did text some people that had bet it because I had bet it, the 55 to 1, and I said, "Hey, it might be time to say your goodbyes." Like,
yeah.
it's almost like you just kinda knew I kinda knew that morning. I was like, "Yeah, like, this doesn't really feel like one that goes our way." Like, I'm gonna bet it because I'm a man who's gonna go down with the ship, and I'm not gonna abandon ship while the Kraken takes us down, but, like, um,
I'm
yeah,
right there with you when it comes to that, my friend. I'm right. Both of those. Sometimes you just wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, "It's not our day today. It's not our day today." But
you're not lying. Alright, Duke and Oral Bob. We talked about Oral Bob a little bit on the timeline. Obviously gonna be a hugely public, underdog. I'm not really sure that it matters. I think this is a really good matchup for them.
really,
Um
I
I just think they're gonna be able to pull I think they're gonna be able to pull Duke's rim protectors away from the basket and just create some space, and I'm not really sure that Duke's offense is gonna be able to take advantage of what Oral Roberts does poorly.
yeah.
Um,
I think the Duke guards can kind of give Naismith some problems. He's obviously an elite scorer. It's going to be whether or not he hits or misses. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I think they have so many bodies they can throw at him. Um, I don't know where I stand. I don't know where you stand on Shire. I don't necessarily know where I stand on Shire either. I think he's a good basketball coach. I've been impressed with Duke's defense all year. This is a big test though, and I just I don't know. I think Oral Roberts is going to be a little bit too trendy. Obviously, I just I think this is one of those games where Duke kind of comes out and kind of they looked really good in their conference tournament, man. That's kind of giving me a lot of pause. The health of what's his name there is kind of something I'm going to be monitoring a little bit. I imagine that he'll be healthy. It's like a sprained knee. He's got a week to kind of ice it and get it going in his direction. So um, I like Duke here, to be honest with you. I think that's not going to be popular. But I just think the Blue Devils have too much size, too much depth to for Oral Roberts to handle. And I think I might end up eating crow on this one, and Oral Roberts might go on a deep run. I just think this is. I wasn't happy when I saw Oral Roberts get Duke. I know some people were a little bit more happy than I was. I think there were other more gettable 5 seeds. Hell, if you look one game down and Oral Roberts is on the 13 line playing Tennessee, it's a hammer of the god spot for me on Oral Roberts. So
yeah,
um,
well, how the turntables. I was the one talking about value on favorites with potentially getting to fade Oral Roberts, but I just think they're going to be able to pull part of what Duke does so well is block shots and create live ball turnovers and get out in transition to create their offense. I think that's why you've seen them kind of be resurgent on the offensive end the last few weeks. I think also Tyrese Proctor's kind of emergence, I guess you could put it, has helped a lot. I just think if you're able to pull Lively away from the rim, which Vanover's going to do, it feels like Vanover hits like 3 threes in the first half. I might find a Vanover over 3-point made.
Yeah, that might be a good look in terms of prop wise. I'm going to write that one down. Actually, I agree with you there. I think that's definitely the one concern you have if you're playing Duke here, and also 6.5. It's kind of right in that range where we're in trouble for the fouling situation. I haven't played either side of this yet, so this is just a lean for me. We'll see where the number goes. Like we've kind of talked about here, this is going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if Oral Roberts gets a lot of money come down the line. I know everyone loves betting against Duke. Some sharp people I know really like Oral Roberts as well. So we'll see. I just the way Duke is playing, I get a feeling in my gut that they're going to be going a deep run this tournament, and I hate that feeling. It's making me sick to my stomach, but I can't get away from it. They had all those injuries at the start of the year. They seem to be gelling in the right way. People are finding their roles. Maybe I'm writing too much into the narrative here. It's probably why I haven't played it yet. I don't have much to go on in terms of statistical advantage, and the 6.5, like that's I'd like it more at 5. Obviously, at 5 they're going to continue to foul with 30 seconds left. It's when you get to 6.5, 7, it becomes kind of, are they still going to foul with 25 seconds left if they're down? I mean, if they're up, sorry. Is Oral Roberts going to continue to foul? And Duke has had not the best foul shot shooting numbers all year either, which kind of gives me a reason to kind of be a little bit concerned. But I think in my bracket, go ahead. Sorry.
Do you feel like this is an Oral Roberts wins outright or doesn't cover at all situation?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. To be honest with you, I'm probably gonna have a couple brackets with Duke, a couple brackets with Oral Roberts getting through. But I think that if Duke wins, they win by 8 or 9 or more. If Oral Roberts wins, I could even see Oral Roberts. Maybe beating them pretty handily, to be honest with you. If they get their pace, if their shots are falling, like you said, if they can bring the rim protection outside by making the outside shots, and also, like I mentioned at the start, I don't really have a hard and fast opinion on Shire. This is his first tournament. Duke is a massive organization, or massive school, massive program. So you wonder, does pressure kind of get to the guy a little bit? It didn't with Hubert Davis last year. I'm not going to say it's going to be the same thing for Duke this year, getting to the Final Four, getting to the championship game, but only time will tell. Or sorry, losing this in the Final Four, they lost, but you know what I meant.
Oh yeah, I know. So Tennessee, Louisiana. This actually feels like a Tennessee Brinks truck spot. I can't back the Cajuns here.
Me neither, man. This is my
I think, and honestly, I like Tennessee, to be honest with you. Louisiana just plays through the interior so much, and that's not how you beat the Vols.
No, I think
probably an under as well.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm playing the under in this one. The first half under, the game under probably, and the first half under is kind of something I'm going to put in a little bit shortly here once I reload my account. I had to withdraw some money and pay my rent the other day, so yeah, Tennessee was a team I was hoping was going to get a much different matchup. I was going to be able to go against them here on a nice money line dog. Couldn't have scripted it any worse. Like you said, Louisiana, they need to score on the inside. Tennessee's defense, I'm not necessarily sold on them being one of the best defensive teams. When you watch them, my eyes don't tell me that they're kind of just completely stifling, but the numbers kind of don't lie. They've been elite defensively since the season tipped off, and I just think that they got especially if Duke gets past Oral Roberts, they got a very, very favorable draw, because I think they match up pretty well against Duke as well. But yeah, I think Tennessee by 15, something like that.
Yeah, I do think it's Tennessee pretty large. I think they're pretty much in cruise control for the entirety of that day. Kentucky Providence, Bryce Hopkins revenge game. Does Bryce Hopkins get revenge, or do the Cats avenge last year's loss to St. Peter's?
I like Kentucky. I just think that Cal. This is a 6 seed is where you want to be if you're a Kentucky fan, in my estimation.
That's what I've been telling people.
Cal is Cal. I don't like Cal as a big favorite. I don't like Cal with big expectations. But when he can sell those guys on the fact that, hey, this is when you get your draft stock up first and foremost, and no one believes in us secondarily. I think that he's a good motivator. He's not necessarily the best schematic coach, and I think that Providence this is a bad matchup for them. I don't think they have the athleticism to kind of match what Kentucky can do, and Kentucky's looked good down the stretch. They've kind of
Yeah,
played some
they've
of their
won
best
like 12 of their
basketball.
last 17, I think.
Yeah, they played their best basketball probably since the new year started. I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. They were pretty garbage in the non-con, but I think Kentucky wins this one pretty easily. I'll probably be playing Kentucky in a couple of money line parlays, um, probably with the likes of Tennessee and stuff like that. I haven't played them yet. I feel like I kind of missed the best number on Kentucky. We've seen this number kind of go up about 1.5 points. I should have played it right when the bracket came out, but I was
Yeah.
busy watching, talking shit online as I'm known to do. So
Yeah, as it goes, we're both guilty. Kansas State, Montana State. Montana State is live as hell.
yeah, that hurts me to say. I agree with you, man. I got a Kansas State future. It's probably the one I'm least excited about seeing the bracket.
Very, very live.
It's just Kansas State has kind of been underwhelming for about a month now for me. They're just not. They just don't really do anything exceptionally well, and Montana State does. What's the line on this right now?
I think
Check.
it's still that. I think it's still sitting 8.5.
Yeah, 8.5. That's too many points, man. That's
It is, I think that the slow tempo of Montana State could actually hurt Kansas State a lot.
No, yeah, it's going to give Kansas State big time problems. Their half court offense, kind of a little bit like
it's actually down to 8. It's actually down to 8 at my shop.
Really, it's coming.
So Montana State is taking money.
Yeah, no surprise. I mean, a little bit surprised to be honest with you, but it's to be honest with you, since everything's been legalized, it's kind of hard to get a feel for I have priors that are kind of going out the window. These lines were getting hit hard last night. There was like 4 or 5 shows talking about teams that they were betting right off. At 6:30, the bracket was out at 6:25. So the amount of information out there makes hitting these openers. I'm going to see where this line goes, but I think I'll be taking Montana State with the points, and that's going to hurt me. I guess it's kind of you maybe I'll take it on the money line.
I was going to say, are they live on the money line for you, or do you think this is one where Kansas State just slogs it out at the end?
No, I think they can get it done, man. I really do. And I guess from a future standpoint, fading Kansas State doesn't hurt me at all. If they win, I got the ticket alive. If Montana State wins, the more I talk myself into it, I'll probably maybe put a little sprinkle on Montana State money line and take the points. Maybe split it up half a unit on each and see how the chips fall where they may.
Kansas State doesn't match up particularly well with Kentucky either.
No, that's the other concern. Like I said, this is just and even depending on if Purdue gets through whatever, they just don't have none of the teams in their bracket. Maybe outside of Marquette, and that's on the other side is they don't really match up well against it all. And I like Marquette more than I like Kansas State, so it's not ideal. It's not ideal for a K-State.
Feels like an early exit for Jerome Tang and the crew. And that's the other thing is he's never coached a tournament game. Like I know he's been on staffs that have won national championships, so there's some pedigree, but there's a little something different when you're not in the chair and you're the one up walking the sidelines.
Yeah, and if they get behind early, does he hit the panic button? That's type of the one situation where you want to have some experience. You're losing to a 14 seed as a 3 seed, as an 8-point favorite. To not panic, to not throw caution to the wind. I wasn't very high on the hire originally. I've been proven wrong by the season that they've had. He did great in the transfer portal, so we'll see what happens. I think, like you said, Montana State is very live. This is one of the ones I thought would kind of fly a little bit under the radar in terms of the underdogs. I was hoping it would. It doesn't seem like it has in terms of betting. Public perception might be different. I don't know. I haven't necessarily been. I don't really keep my finger on the pulse the way I used to.
I've learned that I don't have much of a pulse for public perception.
Yeah, you and me both, brother. You and me both.
All right, so 7-10, bottom side of the bracket. I hate both of these teams. I've been calling Michigan State a luck box fraud all year. I don't know. This one, it sucks that I kind of want to back the Spartans.
Yeah, this is a classic. My favorite team is USC, so I'm not betting it. It's hard for me not to remove my bias a little bit here, but like you said, Michigan State's how they win games is by making contested jumpers, and everything I know
Mhm.
about basketball tells me that's not how you win basketball games.
That's right.
So, that said, USC's interior defense it should just be better. It just sucks. So, um, Michigan State gets into the paint on them, they're going to be able to score. USC does let teams get into the paint, even though they, in theory, have the athletes and the size to not let that happen. Been a very frustrating team to be a fan of all year, to be honest with you. I'm right there with you. I think Izzo, obviously, massive coaching advantage. Um, I lean under. I haven't played it yet, but if I'm gonna play anything, I'll probably lean the under 11:15 a.m. Early morning, especially for USC coming out from California. Um,
That's the other thing too is that travel advantage.
yeah, massive travel advantage. Um, I have a hard time seeing USC win this game.
I will say
Um,
this though, Boogie Ellis is probably one of the more underrated guards in the country. He definitely is up to the task of handling either of those Michigan State guards.
he should be able to, man. I agree with you there. It's just
Everything else tells you that Michigan State's gonna win.
yeah. I just I USC has kind of been a dead horse for me all year. I realized basically in December this team's garbage, and if they get into the tournament, they're not going to do anything. So um, I'll probably play the first half under, full game under. Haven't played either of those yet, but probably will get to the window on them sometime tonight or tomorrow. This one's on Friday though, so I got lots of time still. So we'll see how the board unfolds. We'll see where the money comes in. Just looking at the line history on BetStamp right now for the under, it's looking like it hasn't taken any money yet. So we're gonna see where it goes. I would like it a little bit higher. It's at 137. It opened at 137 and a half. So I guess it's taken, a little bit of money, nothing too crazy. Um, if that falls anymore, I'll probably be just chasing the steam with it, a little bit of confirmation bias. I like to do that on some totals. If they go my way a little bit, I like to jump on them because it's likely they're going to continue to go away early in the week. So I like the under in this one.
Yep. Another one here at the bottom that I think most people won't perceive as live, but I think Vermont might be at least just live enough to make this one really interesting. I played Vermont plus 11.5 against Marquette. You got anything?
Yeah, I don't like this matchup for Marquette. Marquette's kind of the one team I have hope for going on a deep run out of my final tickets. I think you're right. This one gives me major concerns for Marquette. I think that I'm just going to stay away from it, maybe play the over. I think Marquette's defense, I know it's kind of ticked up since February 1st. I think Bart Torvik has them in the top 10 since February 1.
Yeah.
But they still have major concerns defensively. And Vermont is a good basketball team, man. People who haven't watched them play,
Lots of pedigree there, man.
they've been there before. A lot of times before. They're used to the underdog spot. I just think that they don't have anyone that can really handle Cole Click's dribble penetration. His shot making over the Big East tournament was really something to marvel at. I hated him so much against UConn. He was just amazing out there. So I think that Marquette wins, but I think, like you said, Vermont keeps it closer than the number suggests. One concern is that Marquette's offense is just, it's something that Vermont hasn't seen all year. They're just incredibly efficient. They get good shots almost every time down the floor. The high pick and roll they run is poetry in motion at the college basketball level, and I'm a little bit concerned about that. I haven't played Vermont. I'm very close to. I just don't know if I have the. I don't know if I have the. I'll be crushed if Marquette loses this game outright. To be honest with you, I have
Yeah,
Marquette.
it sounds like there's a little bit of fear there too. It sounds like it's something that you could perceive happening. I'm
No,
just
yeah, exactly. I have Marquette at 65 to 1 to win the national title. It's so.
I have Vermont plus 11.5, but I definitely will have Marquette advancing in all my brackets. I can't say that it's something that I'm going to be super comfortable with, but it is something that I feel comfortable with enough where I'm not picking Vermont outright in any
Yeah,
brackets. I do
yeah,
think that it's close though, down to the end. Maybe a little bit of Vermont first half as well.
yeah. The
I
first half line's what, 6.5? I'm gonna look at that right now.
Something like
Actually,
that, yeah, it's something like that. I think it's a close game at the half. Marquette probably puts it away late, and by puts it
yeah.
away,
If we get Vermont 6 and if we get Vermont 7, I'll probably play Vermont first half.
yeah,
I think normally we talk about that makes a lot of sense. I think that I just trust Shaka to kind of make the adjustments when the time comes. Their defense has gotten better. I'm not fully bought in on it just yet. It's probably my least favorite Final Four pick out of the four I have right now. But yeah, like you said,
Interesting, because I actually, if they can get through this one, I feel like the draw sets up for them pretty well.
it does. It definitely does. But you always got to get past that first game, and um, I think Kentucky gives Marquette problems if they can get there, though. So that's my one concern.
Yeah.
Um, like major problems, to be honest with you. But that's kind of just a little bit of a looking farther ahead here.
We'll skip over to this 116 in the Midwest. Northern Kentucky plays more zone than almost anyone. Houston's going to get a million rebounds. Feels like Houston just steamrolls them.
Yeah, I like for Houston first half. Very chalk play. It's crazy to say a first half play on a mid major team is kind of a public move, but it's kind of become so over this season in my estimation. But I just think they live on the inside. They kill them on the inside. I'm just gonna double check the number here so I don't say anything too crazy. But I think they just hammer them on the inside, like you said, zone defense. The way they attack the glass. Oh shit, it's 10. It's 12. I thought it was 10 and a half. Yeah, maybe I'll walk that one back a little bit. If I can get it at 11 and a half, not minus 125. If it goes, minus 115, although I don't imagine that happens. So
feels like Houston gets hammered. They may be them and Alabama. I feel like are the two that people just have on the collision course for the national title game. Just public perception.
I don't have Houston get into the Final Four. I don't
no,
know.
Sir. No, sir.
I don't believe in Kelvin Sampson, man. I know that's kind of blasphemy. I know he's kind of done good things with this program, but that's just kind of where I'm at with that one.
Yeah. If I gave away a Final Four pick there, by flashing horns at the screen, yeah, that's where we're going with that.
Welcome, baby, welcome.
I've got him 30-1. It's a ticket that I really love. It's one that with the draw I feel even better about. So we're gonna be assholes clenched from start to finish here because this is not one. This is not a bracket I fear if you're a Texas backer.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, my friend. I got Texas in my Final Four as well. It's the one team I'm kicking myself for not buying in on when the Beard situation happened. They've been dynamite. Carr is an absolute elite scorer. He's a great decision maker. He's the type of guy. Guard play wins in the tournament. Texas has good guard play, and they have and their defense.
Dude, I think Serge Rice is my favorite player in the country.
Really, yeah,
he just is a joy to watch play basketball.
Yes, no, you're right.
He has the best pump fake in the entire sport. He gets to the rack. He hits big shots. Like I love that basketball player. Like he is one of my favorite players to watch in the country. Carr is great. I'll buy it. He's frustrating sometimes. We'll get to them at the bottom. I could talk about him for hours. Iowa Auburn. Iowa got a nice little screw job here, having to play in Birmingham, so it's basically going to be an Auburn home game. I still want to back the Hawkeyes, I think.
So do I. I hate saying it. I hate going with McCaffrey in March, but I'm right there with you, man.
I think I lean Iowa here.
I
talked to someone who bought in at like 100-1 on Iowa to win the national championship, just looking for hedge stuff later on because this team actually does feel like one. This was pre-bracket though, by the way. So like obviously this draw doesn't favor Iowa with having to play Houston in the second round. But it is definitely one where I do think this Iowa team is better than probably people have given them credit for.
I do too, and I've long for 3 or 4 years now been the type of person who will shit on Fran McCaffrey, but his offense is absolutely elite every year. They do great. He was ahead of the curve on the 3 and rim stuff. They score, they can shoot, and they can beat Houston if they're hitting from the outside. I firmly believe that. I'm probably one of the lower people in the country on Houston.
It really worries me that Houston only plays like 7 guys too.
Exactly. That's something that I think that
there's so many ways where Houston doesn't go right.
Exactly, and the way their pace of play. I don't like teams who play crazy fast because I think
they play crazy fast and have no bodies. What happens when they get in foul trouble? What happens if someone gets hurt? What happens if Sasser's not 100%? Like,
yeah, that's And it's basically, I think Auburn minus 120 on the money line right now, minus
Iowa,
118.
dude, you can get Iowa in a point and a half right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna end up playing Iowa probably. I'm gonna play them right now. I'm glad that why not, right? Fuck it.
Yeah, I think I definitely will be playing. I will definitely be playing the Hawkeyes. I think that they win despite the home court advantage. This Auburn team was on the bubble like 2 weeks ago, had one or two big wins that allowed them to kind of sneak in and get in without much drama. But I don't think this Auburn team's really good. I think Auburn has
Bruce
gone
Pearl
almost.
is Graham McCaffrey too. They're one and the same guy. Neither of these guys have
Yeah,
a
and Bruce's problem is I think his guards, their green light is way too green right now. And it feels like if Iowa can just start well, that they're gonna start shot chunking.
yeah,
And I'll take my chances with that. Like I'll take my chances. And if that turns into long rebounds and runouts, Iowa's gonna score 95 points. Like
agreed.
so I'm
Absolutely
gonna
agreed.
back the Hawks. The 5-12 here. I'm with the rest of the entire world. I'll be backing Drake against the Hurricanes here. I just think it's a nightmare matchup, man. Not much size for Miami. Norshad Omir's day to day, so even if he plays,
Not gonna be 100%,
you
man.
worry that he's not 100%. Um, even Drake's guards are going to have some size. Like DeVry's kid is 6'7". Um, I
Yeah,
just nightmare. I think it's a nightmare draw for Miami. I think Drake gets this one done.
you and me both, brother. I think they get it done. Haven't played it yet. I should have played it last night. I'm kicking myself a little bit now,
Yeah,
but
it's just getting steamed to hell, man. It was 3 and a
yeah,
half, and it's already down to 2, I think. It's just I wouldn't be surprised if Drake closed, like, +1 or something.
yeah. I'm kicking myself for saying I'll take a night to sleep on and not overreact to anything, and woke up to see some lines that I was like, oh, I guess I should have played that last night. Live and learn. Like I said, everything's with all the states and especially up here in Canada. This is the first year the march has been legal, so I was kind of a little bit wary to see how much action we'd see on these opening lines. We've seen kind of just money come in on every game pretty aggressively on sides, on totals, on derivatives. So I'm right there with you. I think part of me thinks that if Miami can get past them, they can maybe go on a deep run. I just don't think they have. I just don't
See,
think they
and
have
I'm one that, like, I don't even and not to get ahead, but if Indiana loses, which I think is very, very feasible,
Yeah,
very feasible, I like, Indiana's a nightmare matchup for Miami because they don't have anybody that can guard Trace Jackson Davis. Jalen Hood-Schifino might also be better than any guard that Miami has. It's at least a discussion. Kent State, Sincere Carry is a monster, and they have legitimate Power 5 size at multiple spots. They have big wings, and their guards are pretty big too. It is just a nightmarish quadrant of 4 teams where you have Miami, who has no size, and everyone else is really big.
yeah. No, yeah, you're right there. Absolutely. I got Drake going on in my brackets right now, so I think that says everything that needs to be said.
I think too. I think if Miami somehow, and also I'll say this on Miami, I've been a Miami seller kind of from the jump. I faded them to no avail for weeks and weeks and weeks, but I started kind of getting my licks back here late in the season. It feels like it's just kind of one of those things where maybe Larinaga's group is just kind of ready to be knocked out and just be done.
Yeah, I get this is his last. This is his last kick of the can, eh?
I
I
think so.
think.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think I saw that. Yeah, so that's obviously something to keep an eye on. Maybe he's already planning his retirement or what have you. I agree with you. I don't think it's always a little bit scary to be like, yeah, I like the underdog here, especially because I know what I feel about in the next game as well. But I
I
just
know. I think we probably both lean Kent State in the next one.
yes, those so seeing a 13 and 12 anytime you see that in your bracket, and then you're betting both sides of it as well, gives you a
But
saying, hey, we'll kind of do
it sucks because I like the 14 out here too.
yeah, the Midwest is going to be it's either going to be Cinderella heaven or it's going to be an egg on my face because I like a lot of these long shots as well. If
Yeah.
especially with kind of what we talked about with Houston, going deeper into the tournament, injuries, playing all these minutes on those 7 guys, they're gettable as well. I don't know if anyone will beat them out of those long shots we talked about, but only time will tell, I suppose.
They're not the wagon that basketball Twitter would have you think that they are. Like,
100%
I don't
agree.
even think they've they opened the season preseason as the top team in the country on Ken Palm, and they still are, but the difference is like less than half a point right now.
No,
Like
yeah, I was
they're
about to
just
say.
and from Houston to Texas, like if we got a Houston Texas line, you're looking at like 2. You're looking at like you're looking at a
I
really
love
tight.
Texas. If we
I
get Texas +2, I'm gonna have to call
I will
my
be
accountant.
I will be
That's
in
my
big
non-existing accountant.
I will be in big trouble. I will be in big trouble. All right, moving down. Indiana, Kent State. I kind of maybe have some, I like Kent State. I've had some trouble pulling the trigger. I think you also like the flashes. I'll let you take the floor and tell me why I should go ahead and pull the trigger.
I just think that first of all, I know this might not be super popular. I've talked a lot about coaches. I don't believe in Woodson as a coach at all. I don't think he's a great in-game manager. I think that if Trace gets 2 fouls in the first 9 minutes, he won't trust him enough to play him in the back end of that first half. And when
That
Trace is off,
bothers me so much, and not just Woodson, but all coaches in general.
lots of guys,
I tweeted that
lots of
about
guys.
Holtman a lot. I tweeted that a lot about Holtman a lot during that Purdue game. How do you let Felix Okpara sit on the bench for those last 5 minutes and watch your season piss away?
It's just not. It's just it doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? Like, he's your best player. You play him and you trust him, and if he fouls again, well, then you went out with the bathwater. You know, you can't. You got to let these guys play, and Woodson, time and time again, he's liable to do that. Kent State, they're a really good basketball team, man. Like you said, they have power five size. Their wings can get to the basket. They can get downhill. They can put a real pressure on the Indiana defense that they're not necessarily super accustomed to. Kent State likes to play fast. They play up tempo. They shoot the ball pretty effectively from the 3-point line. Obviously, Trace is going to cause any school problems in the country. He's just
I
that
think
good.
you can argue he is the best player in the country.
His passing is the one thing that's kind of that brings this team to another echelon in my estimation. Last year, you double him in the low post or you get him in kind of in the corner situation. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to turn the ball over. This year, it's been up another level, maybe even 2 levels. He finds the open guy. This is one that the line, it's less about the it's. I like the line on Kent State. I feel less convicted about the money line. I like the spread on Kent State. I just think that Indiana also not the best foul shot shooting team. I think on the season, 72% as a group, not awful, but not something that you want to hang your hat on necessarily. So in late game fouling situation, can they get the margin? They've had some turnover issues at times. They've righted the ship since January 1st, but in the non-con, they struggle with turnovers sometimes. So, I like the Flashes. I've liked them all year. It's been a team that's one of the few teams in terms of sides that's kind of got me to the bank over and over again this season, and I'm not going to go away from them right now. So, this is the one futures ticket that I hit, other than Gonzaga, was Kent State. So we're gonna ride with them. They're gonna give Indiana a much closer game than people realize, I think.
Yeah, and for all the positives I have to say about Jalen Hood-Schifino and his upside, the downside there is that he also could single-handedly get them eliminated from this tournament.
Shoot them out of the game. I agree with you.
And so I do think that that's another reason maybe to back Kent State, because I think their guard size could be a problematic. And I imagine Sincere Carey is going to follow him around everywhere he goes. So that's
I was
not
about
exactly.
to say that that's not a great matchup for him at all. It's going to be it'll be frustrating. He'll be frustrated whether they win or not at the end of that game, I imagine.
Yeah, and so that's one of those where if you're an Indiana backer, you're not exactly just there are things on both sides that really make you just kind of make your skin crawl and make you anxious. Because you get anxious about TJD if you want to back Kent State, but on the flip side, like if you back Indiana, you also are really nervous that JHS may cost you the game because he's going to be so frustrated and trying to get going that TJD almost doesn't matter. So
yeah, that's kind of where I look to Woodson. You got to get your best player touches where he needs the ball. If they do that, I think if Indiana plays like a 90% game, they win this game. If they play like a 75% their best game, I think Kent State wins it. And I think at the number where it's at right now, I'm actually gonna hop in on them.
Ken hopped in and went ahead and bought Kent State. So he is in on the flashes.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy in right now. Ooh, it's down to 3.5. Shoot.
Dude, it's flying, and I just don't see it. Like, not to that extent. Like, I see how they cover, and I even see how they win the game, but I just don't see how the line has flown in such a way. It opened up like 5.5.
Yeah, shoot.
It's so
Pinnacle
low.
has
You're not
Pinnacle
even
has
in
it up.
fouling territory anymore. You're in like, all right, man. Like, we've got to be in this thing until there's 30 seconds left.
No, yeah, it's almost money line type of situation for me.
It's
Um,
almost, do they win or do they lose at this point?
yeah, that's maybe I'm gonna hold off. Actually, I'm not gonna play it right now. We'll take that
I
one
know,
off.
man. That's where I'm at too. I came in really wanting to back Kent State, and now I'm just like, especially
Guys,
because I've had people trying to talk me into Indiana futures for months, and I just
you
didn't
and
pull.
me both, man. People have loved Indiana for a while. I do that future show on YouTube, so I'm always talking with people in DMs about futures. And Indiana's been a team I've seen. Some people I really, really respect and like talk about for 3 months now. So
Yeah,
um,
so Ken doesn't love Indiana after Trace Jackson Davis. I agree with that once I get past TJD and also the good version of JHS. Um, yeah. You know what? I'm probably gonna bet Kent State just because.
I'm happy this one's on Friday night. I'm happy this one's on Friday night. I can ruminate on it. I can see where the money goes. I can hear some arguments from some sharp people, and I can kind of see where I end up.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna bet Indiana just on principle because you shouldn't have that many double names on your team. Um, that's just ridiculous. I shouldn't have to abbreviate that many people's names. But in all seriousness, we'll see where it goes. And I'll make a decision late. So Iowa State gets the winner of Mississippi State and Pitt. The over under on this one should probably be like 46. Um, nobody is going to score any points. I'm
I like
taking
Iowa.
huh?
I like Iowa regardless of the matchup.
I
To
do
be honest
too.
with
I like
you,
Iowa State regardless. I
not
just
the
think,
the number, but
yeah, I think that I don't think Mississippi State can beat them for sure because I think Iowa State's better on both ends than Mississippi State. Like they're just flat out better at basketball, which is saying a lot because Mississippi State's sixth in adjusted defensive efficiency on KenPom. So the fact that Iowa State's also better than them on that end is a big, big problem. Pitt, on the other hand, top 25 offense in the country, but they can't really guard anybody. So that would be a classic contrast of styles. It would really be who can get to their game. Um, I would probably just give Otzelberger the benefit of the doubt because I think Jeff Capel kind of sucks.
yeah.
So I think I would roll. I think I'm rolling with the Cyclones. We'll wait and see what an ATS looks like. I'd imagine it'll be like 3.5, 4, like probably pretty low.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think they'll be too heavy of favorites.
No, I
They
don't think so either.
I especially with the way they struggle to shoot foul shots, man. That's always the one thing with Iowa State. I think they're outside the top 200 in terms of foul shot shooting this season. So
Yeah, the big thing with Iowa State too is if they attack you on the inside and get you off the bounce, and this is especially true if it's Mississippi State. If Tolu Smith gets in foul trouble, whether it be Tuesday or Friday,
they're
like
shit.
if Tolu
They're
Smith
out of
gets
luck.
in foul trouble, they're in
Deep trouble. Deep
big
trouble.
trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're relying on DJ Jeffries and Shaquille Moore to make shots at that point, and that's really
Yeah.
not something you want to rely on.
No, that's not.
But so I mean, their 11 seeds have made a run to the Sweet 16 out of the play-in multiple years in a row now. I feel like if one's going to do it, it comes in this matchup.
No, yeah, that's certainly a fair rebuttal. I forgot about that for a second. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, Iowa State's gettable. Don't get me wrong.
I think Iowa State is much more gettable than TCU.
Oh yeah, yeah. You and me both. You and me both.
TCU's. I feel bad for Gonzaga. That they like. Yeah, I feel bad for Gonzaga. That was not really. That is not the 6th seed you wanted to see coming your direction. Even
Very
without
unfair.
even without Eddie Lampkin, who entered the transfer portal this morning. So
Really, I must have missed that. Wow.
yeah,
Wonder what
there's a
happened
lot
there.
there. Yeah, there's a lot there. I think he accused Jamie Dixon of racism amongst some other things. So
Not
he's in the
cool.
transfer portal. His teammates have not really come to his defense. So this doesn't really seem like a thing where Eddie Lampkin did a lot. I think Eddie Lampkin might be the guilty party here. So 3-14, Xavier, Kennesaw State. Love the Owls. Love them. Granted, I've loved them all year and
I was
basically
about to say You ride with you dance with the girl who brought you here, brother. You dance with
Right.
the girl who brought you here.
Exactly right. And I've loved them all year. I think it's a really good team. They're more talented than people realize. There's some transfers on that roster that came from higher level schools. Amir Abdur-Rahim was able to sign some legitimate high school talent. It's going to be the best offense Kennesaw State's played all year, but they also have the athleticism and the switchability to really give Xavier problems. Sean Miller's not a coach I'm running to back in March. Amir Abdur-Rahim making his debut. That's kind of scary, but not really. I kind of trust him, especially having to coach so many big close games down the stretch here. It feels like that team's not going to be super phased by the moment. A March hero that maybe nobody really knows about coming in. Terrell Burden could be a massive issue. If he can get to the rim, it's going to be a massive, massive problem. Damon Robinson actually may be able to exploit Xavier on the interior with no Freemantle. I think 12 and a half. I think it's down to 11 and a half, but
it's a bad number. I agree with you.
I think double digit points just way too much here. Kennesaw State also, you can correlate it to they've covered against every Power 5 they've played this year. They play up or however you want to every power conference team they've played this year. Vegas just hasn't had a good hold on this team. Like they've significantly undervalued them pretty much all year. It hasn't really changed here. I think that you'll be able to. I think Kennesaw State keeps this single digits. Kennesaw gave that Indiana team a run for about 35 minutes and then kind of fell off. Still covered. I think the line was like 17 and they lost by like 13. And then they played Florida single digits the entire game with Castleton in Gainesville. Ended up losing by 10 on a plus 21.
Yeah.
So you're seeing
they had every chance to win that game too. I watched that one. I had Kennesaw that night.
Yeah, they have extreme performance in these spots, man. Like I just think that you get them, they play up. It's a morning game too. I think that actually favors the dog a little bit here.
Yeah.
They may actually be the more athletic team, which could cause some problems. They remind me some of Steve Forbes' old East Tennessee State teams. So
that's a great comparison, brother. That is a very good comparison.
I think it's a problem. I don't know that I can't get there outright. I don't think, but I can definitely make the game really close.
Yeah, I'm echoing much of what you said. I don't have a whole lot. I like the over in the first half I mean the under in the first half in this one, 11:40 a.m. New rims. Xavier obviously has a great offense, but if they don't, that kind of is going to make the total a little bit higher than it'll be in some other games. But I like Kennesaw plus 11. I just locked it in. I think exactly what you said. I haven't been a fan of Xavier all year. Their offense is kind of pittered off a little bit over the past few weeks. Their defense has not been good since the.
I'll tell you what, man. If Kennesaw State makes jump shots, this thing gets scary.
Yeah, that's the real that's where the cookies get buttered, so to speak. If they hit their jump shots, Xavier's in trouble, man. Genuinely in trouble.
They are. And then if you're Kennesaw State and you look up at that second round, you're not exactly just shitting bricks either. Like
not at all. Not at all.
So that's one of those weird ones where you may be able, like if you're maybe heavily contrarian bracket, like that may be one where you throw them in a Sweet 16 or something just like that, just to see if you can steal some points. I'm telling you, man, like I 100% am going to bet their money line because, like you said, you dance with the girl who brought you here, and you dance with her until she passes out and dies. But yeah, I'm gonna back the out for sure. I'm gonna probably maybe quarter unit the money line, but I will definitely full unit, maybe unit and a half the spread. Like to me, it's one of my favorite plays in the tournament.
Yeah, you convinced me, brother. I was halfway there, but I've been going against Xavier for a couple weeks now. It's been like I said, I've been struggling on sides. It's been one of the few things that have worked pretty well. They've been struggling. Their offense, it's good, but it doesn't. When you compare it, like I compare it 1-to-1 with Marquette playing the same conference. It doesn't have the fluidity, and it doesn't necessarily have kind of maybe it's just what my eye likes to see that Marquette's does, and they can really get run down sometimes. They can go 5-6 possessions without getting a good shot.
And they feel like they're susceptible to ball pressure, which is not good, which is really not good for playing Kennesaw State, who's going to get in you and pick you up at half court. So I don't know. I think the Owls are really live. I'll probably I'll have some sprinkle on the money line. I'll have their spread. I really think that that's a great matchup for them, and I think that second round matchup would be potentially really interesting too. It just kind of would depend on who you get. I think in the ideal world, you pull the 11 there.
Yeah, Pitt
Just stay
probably.
away, just because Iowa State's defense being as good as it is, really just kind of scares you. I think Iowa State actually this sets up for a Sweet 16 run.
Yeah, no, I was thinking. I was looking at it. I was looking at it the same way. I think that's how I have it in my bracket. I'm just gonna go
I
over
think
it.
that's how it sets up here.
Yeah,
I think Iowa State's gonna get through. Um, Texas A&M, Penn State, um, early lean to the Nittany Lions, but nothing strong.
yeah. This one's tough, man. This one's probably the game I have projected right on. Really, like my projections have it right on the line that the book has it at. So,
Yeah.
I don't have
I'm not
anything.
strong at all. It does feel like Penn State matches up pretty well.
Yeah, so in my projections, I have Penn State +4. So I guess there's a little bit on A&M, but like you said, I just have a hard time backing Texas A&M right now for whatever reason. I know they had a great run in the SEC down the stretch. They won a lot of big games. I don't like the way their offense functions a lot of the time. And on the other side, Penn State, it's hard for me to really sink my teeth too much into that team. They've kind of burned me a couple times over the past 2 months. So this is
They shoot a lot of so it's for A&M it's tough because Penn State doesn't turn the ball over, which definitely hurts their offense.
yeah,
And Penn State shoots a ton of threes. It's a very similar formula. It's almost like playing a poor man's Alabama in a way, and we kind of saw how if Texas A&M doesn't force turnovers and their opponent makes shots, we kind of saw what that looks like on Sunday.
ugly,
Um,
ugly, ugly, ugly. Yeah, I agree with
yeah,
you.
and so I think I'll probably roll with Penn State here. But I'll go back and forth on this one for the entire duration. I'll go back all the way up until Thursday. Um, I just Yeah, I don't know. I kind of lean Penn State. I can definitely see where Texas A&M gets them with their guard play and their physical nature. Buzz is a really good head coach. Shrewsbury's never done this before, so you can definitely see where that's a factor as well. Um, I don't know. As you can see, I just talked myself in circles. So I think that's kind of how that'll be for me. And then all right, Texas and Colgate. Texas probably beats them by 72. Colgate can't guard anybody. The only way this game stays close is if they make a million threes, and even then they can't win.
Yeah, Texas does a great job defending the 3-point line too.
I know, and so I mean, first round here, I played Texas team total over 81.5. I think that's I think that
Yeah,
they
I'm
can
gonna
score.
I'm gonna tail you on that. That's a good look.
I think they're going to be able to score as much as they want to be able to score. Um, you know, I think Colgate maybe keeps it close for a little while, but Texas just kind of rolls or whatever at some point. It almost reminds me a lot of that Musselman Colgate game where Colgate made a million threes early and people started freaking out, and then they went to halftime and Arkansas had cut it to like six,
Okay?
and
Yeah,
everybody kind of like knew what was about to happen, and then Arkansas still somehow won and covered the game
yeah.
because Colgate was that bad defensively. And this Colgate team's even worse than that.
Worse, much worse. Like
Much
like
worse. The
like
Patriot League was down.
7-8% worse if you look at it. Like this is a bad defense. Very bad
It's
defense.
really like, and it's like next level bad. Like,
They just don't have anyone that can stay in front of Texas's guards, man.
no, and like it's one of
Nobody.
probably it's their 231st in defensive efficiency, adjusted defensive efficiency. So even
Yeah.
opponent adjusted, they're
It's
231st.
ugly, 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 ugly. Playing
It's
against bad.
really bad. I think I would look. I think I'd look under probably. I think you could maybe make an argument. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'm playing Texas's team total over. That's all I'm playing, and then I'm riding my 30-1 shot on the horns to kind of get through this little sector of this bracket here.
Yeah, very, very favorable quartet if you look at it.
If Texas gets to Kennesaw State in the Sweet 16, there's going to be some major moral dilemmas. I would have some serious like heart palpitations that would have to be like I'd have to probably be resurrected. Like it would not be good.
Especially if it's a close game.
Oh god, like which granted the good thing is I'd probably get Kennesaw in like 17 points where I could just cheer for Kennesaw to lose by 10 and then just everybody wins.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
17 might be more than you'll get, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it's something like that. Maybe it'd
I
probably be
can
closer
agree with
to
that.
15 or something.
Yeah.
But all right, last region here. Kansas and Howard.
What
I
a
actually
bad draw for Kansas, man. First
yeah,
and
I
foremost.
actually kind of have some interest in backing the dog there in that 116. Maybe that makes me just a fucking filthy person, but Howard
21.
yeah, it's like 21 and a half. I kind of have some interest in backing the dog to keep it just relatively close. Feels like a just disaster bet waiting to happen, but I'm probably going to play it.
Yeah, I got no interest in that. I'm just looking at the total here. It's 146 still. I lean a little bit towards the over. I guess that might help the
Howard
dog.
just plays at such a frantic pace.
Yeah, and Kansas, they've been a little bit more comfortable doing so this season. They've played some really high tempo games. Um, obviously everything that's going on with the program, Bill Self's health, the injury concerns. Um, maybe they don't necessarily put the foot to the gas in the second half, and that kind of has the
Could
potential to
totally
hurt.
see this thing. Could totally see this thing ending like 85 to 68,
Yeah, that's
and that's a Howard. That's a Howard cover and a pretty comfortable over.
that's
Like
kind of what I was thinking too. There's the issue is that I don't know. Maybe Kansas wants to make a statement. I don't know. It's always tough to kind of guess these things sometimes.
listen, if you're betting a 16 against a one, I think the number is 1-800-GAMBLER. You have to like if you're doing that, you're just an all-time sicko, and I am an all-time sicko. So,
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
all
I'll be betting
right,
the NLT lines as soon as we get off this call. So
yeah, 8 and 9, Arkansas, Illinois. Arkansas has gotten a ton of public love now, pre-SEC tournament, preseason, now pre-NCAA tournament. I don't know that I'm just rushing to back the Hogs.
me neither.
They Musselman's 5-8 ATS in the NCAA tournament. I don't really get the love. Why everybody figures he's like this elite coach that's going to have teams ready to roll in March when the statistics tell you that historically his teams don't play well in March.
They just
Um,
play football with a basketball out there sometimes, man. Like they don't really.
and if Illinois like decides to sit in a 2-3 zone, the game's over. Like
Yeah, big time. I was about to bring that up. I don't know. I haven't looked at Illinois' zone percentage. I assume it's really not that high if I'm not thinking about it already. But they got 4 days to set it up. These are university students. They should be able to pick it up. I'd be shocked if we don't see in a Fighting Illini zone at some point in this game. Um, I hate the way Arkansas plays. I hated that I bet them in the SEC tournament. Um, I wish I hadn't.
I just couldn't. Maybe it's being from SEC country, and I just watched so much Arkansas where I was like, man, I get it, I do, but I also don't. Like, I
Anytime I
understand.
watch them, I hate myself for doing it. Every
I know,
time.
and I understand the attraction because there's so much top end talent, but it almost seems like that team just doesn't enjoy each other's presence. This is the ultimate I hate my teammates game between Arkansas and Illinois because both teams hate their teammates.
Yeah,
I
Illinois has been a disappointment for me this year, man. I had a little bit of high hopes for Illinois, but they just kind of
I'll have Arkansas
overwhelmed me.
going through in brackets, but I won't bet the game.
Yeah, me too. That's exactly how I have it, actually.
That's definitely how I'll play this one. I would probably play the under, but I just don't want to watch the game, so I would rather just not bet it at all. All right, St. Mary's VCU. I know you have an official. I definitely bet the same thing as you. So
Yeah, this is St. Mary's all day, every day for me.
100%, one
VCU's a
hundred.
nice story. Um, they did their thing. They had a nice little run through their tournament, but St. Mary's is a legitimately very good team, well coached. I
11th,
love. Yeah,
11th.
yeah. They got hosed, man. They're like their offense, 40th, their defense ninth. They don't turn the ball over. They haven't been necessarily, lucky in terms of the ratings. Since February 1st, Bartorvik's got their defense fourth. Their defense has been elite since February 1st.
VCU can't score outside of Ace.
No, I just don't see how VCU keeps this game close. They don't offer these numbers yet, but I'll probably look at adjusted, like a crank up the spread a couple more points there to get a plus money on it. I just think that they kind of win going away. To be honest with you, I just think they got screwed in terms of seeding. They didn't get screwed in terms of matchup. This is one that I think St. Mary's handles pretty easily.
Yeah,
I
and
just,
then I
I
think
don't see how VCU, even defensively, like St. Mary's offense isn't going to wow you by any means, but I don't see how VCU does enough to kind of offset how much, like VCU turns the ball over a fair bit. If St. Mary's gets can create 14
St. Mary's
turnovers,
gets in transition. Good luck.
yeah, if they get if they can create 7 live ball turnovers, this game's going to be ugly.
It
And,
feels like the only way VCU wins is if they grind it to a halt and Ace hits like a million floaters.
yeah, the mid range is where you have to beat St. Mary's, and
And the only
even
way
then, I don't know. Like I guess Dayton has some pretty elite athletes on that team. There's some other teams in that conference who have some guys who kind of can make it hard. I just don't know if they've played a defense. They obviously haven't played a defense in terms of the ratings and the efficiency of that kind of stuff.
A10 was so bad this year.
It was garbage, man.
It was garbage, and everybody was talking about how they couldn't wait to pick against the A10, and now everybody's rushing to back VCU and driving the line down. Which whatever, I'm gonna.
I don't understand where that money's coming from at all, to be honest with you.
I don't either. I'm backing the Gales, which should set up in all likelihood an awesome 4-5 matchup. I'm backing UConn minus 9.5 against Iona. I know that the Patino factor is going to be one that gets driven up, but UConn's been a top 5 team in the country per Bart Torvik for like a month now.
Yeah, they've been playing their best hoop, and I'm a little bit. People like Patino and maybe talk about. I have some concerns about him being 1 foot out the door right now.
I have that too. Yeah, because he's already been basically reported to be agreed at St. John's.
So how hard is he going to be preparing? That sounds shitty to say to a guy to do these kids, but we know he's not exactly a man of outstanding moral.
He's not exactly a man of honor.
No, not at all. Far from it. Rico and Nadu would love him. It's just I just don't really see how UConn doesn't pulverize Iona. And to be honest with you, Iona, they haven't really impressed me that much. In that conference, you'd think they'd be winning. They played Siena pretty close a couple of times this year. I just think UConn handles business. I just don't see how Iona can. Iona doesn't have any bench to speak of at all. They might even play less people than Houston does. They got 6 guys who play more than 25 minutes a game, and the other 3 guys play less than 15. So it's hard to really, UConn, bigger school, fully focused, playing their best basketball. I just I'm big on UConn here. I think I've played them already. I probably might get in there again, play it on game day at 3 p.m., 3 o'clock, see where the money goes, and probably
close to home as well. Playing in Albany, like no travel worries there for either side, which means it'll probably be a heavy UConn crowd. Are there Iona fans? Do those exist?
I don't think so. I haven't met any, anyways.
Yeah. Any early feeling on what a St. Mary's UConn line, what you would want to see in order to back either side?
If UConn's minus 4 or less, I'm playing UConn. I think it'll probably be.
I think you're gonna get I think you'll get like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, I think I was thinking 5.5, 6. If it's 4 or less, I'll play UConn. If it's 6.5 or more, I'll play St. Mary's probably. I'll be looking at that under though. UConn's defense has really turned the corner. They had some, in the start of conference play, they were struggling, but their defense has been a lot better. Marquette shot the lights out against them in that game. So what St. Mary's able to do that, I don't know. They definitely have the pieces.
I don't know that I don't know that's something that I want to count on though.
No, exactly. So I'll probably, if we see that, obviously hard to project a total for me right now, but I would lean towards UConn. If it's less than probably 4.5, I'd play UConn, to be honest with you. Minus 4.5.
So you think UConn wins the game, barring a shooting just master?
Yeah, that's kind of what I see happening in my personal opinion. I like UConn a lot. I think that
I'm a fan. I think it's out of this bracket, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's I'm having this is the bracket. Obviously, I'm probably not alone on this one. That is giving me making me toss and turn in my bed. UCLA.
There's 5 teams in this bracket that I can get into the Final Four and not really have any hard times doing it.
Yeah, like I think I have UCLA at like something like 21, UConn at like 19, St. Mary's at 15, Gonzaga at 18%. Like it's all very, very, very congested. It's hard. This is going to be a fun bracket, man. It'll be hilarious if Grand Canyon just throws it all.
And the
all
metrics
all
and
up
the
in
metrics
air.
on the metrics on the 6th seed are going to be a little bit skewed because of how much injury trouble they've had this year. Like where I don't know about you, where you have them rated when TCU, and obviously this doesn't go back to happening with Lampkin gone, but when TCU was healthy, I had them power rated like 7th in the country.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong at that. I know one guy that we both like to communicate with and like his work, Stucky. He likes TCU a lot. The Lampkin loss hurts, man.
It does. It's a
I
big.
still think that if it had happened,
Doesn't hurt them, but it doesn't hurt them until the second weekend theoretically.
Yeah, and also if it had happened a month ago, they have some bench guys who have size who I think are kind of
Clark and Coles are not bad, and Coles actually maybe gives them a little higher upside because they can shoot more than.
Yeah, I was about to say I like Coles a lot. This is the most compelling the region I can remember in a couple years, to be honest with you. Where I look at, like you said, 1 to 6. I could make 1 to 7 even. I don't hate Northwestern. I think it sucks that they got UCLA, but if Northwestern was in another bracket, another region. Sorry, I would be saying I would talk myself into Northwestern maybe going on a run too. But it's just it's going to be a dogfight in this bracket. It's going to be very fun to watch, man. It's my favorite time of the year. I'm giddy almost.
Yeah, so no problems for TCU with whichever 11 seed comes out.
No, I think TCU handles business pretty easily. I think if anything, the Lampkin situation probably galvanizes the boys a little bit, and they come out with a point to prove.
Yeah, and then so I actually have some interest in, and God, I might be just like putting a double barrel shotgun to my head, but I have some interest in the dog, Grand Canyon. The low
money line live or just
no, I think I'm just grabbing some spread.
Yeah, I like the points. Gonzaga is the interesting thing is I think Gonzaga is a team who really does have a switch, especially defensively. They can seemingly turn it on or turn it off. Their defense was a lot better in the last 3 weeks. How seriously will they take Grand Canyon? Will they try to run up the score? How fast are they going to play? Is this an opportunity to kind of play some more sets?
Better save their legs for Sunday.
Exactly. That's kind of where my head's at. I like the points with Grand Canyon, but I think I think this might be the year the Gonzaga gets they have maybe the hardest path to the Final Four that you could design, to be honest with you. But if they get there, man, they're going to earn it. They're going to earn it.
Right. Any lean to that Gonzaga TCU game Sunday? Assuming we get it.
I would lean Gonzaga, to be honest with you. I know that's not something that a lot of people are going to love.
Not what I wanted to hear. That's not what I wanted to hear.
No, yeah, I know. It's not something a lot of people are going to love, but I do
think it profiles very similarly to TCU Arizona from last year. I think it profiles very similarly, which is why I naturally lean TCU, because I know I'm going to get a handful of points with the Frogs, and I think it just naturally leans to a track meet where you bet the over and the dog, and the game just stays super close.
Yeah, that's true, man. If TCU can play in transition, I don't know if anyone can beat them in the country.
And that's the problem too, is Gonzaga is going to want to run, and TCU is probably one of 3 teams in the country that is better in transition than Gonzaga.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And if God forbid,
4.5, you think Gonzaga will be minus 4.5, 5?
I think you're gonna get 2 possessions.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna get somewhere in that 5 to 6 range, because Gonzaga odds makers have loved Gonzaga. I mean, just game to game, they love Gonzaga. You always get a little bit of value going away from Gonzaga.
This is one of those ones where my head doesn't necessarily like I feel like Gonzaga is undervalued, but the game-to-game betting tells me otherwise. If you know what I mean by
Right.
that, like
There's no way. I know how well they've been playing, and I know that like in the month of March, which is really only like 12 days, so like not a huge sample size, they've been the best team in the country. But and even over the last month, they've been top 5. There's something about that that just doesn't compute
yeah,
to me. Like there's something there that's just not buying it. And and it's not a WCC thing. I'm not the like, oh, the WCC sucks. They don't play anybody guy. Like that's not what it is. There's just something there that doesn't compute to me. It just feels like most other Gonzaga teams where I know that their offense is going to be like a rolling ball of butcher knives, but something just I feel like if they get in a track meet with that TCU team, I feel like TCU's got the best player on the floor, and I feel like they're the better transition team. And if
yeah,
God forbid, if you get some of those role players to knock down, if Shahada Wells and Choco Bannon hit a couple threes, Gonzaga's on the ropes. Um,
agreed.
so it's a weird one. I definitely think it's number dependent. I think that if it turns into a track meet, Gonzaga would be better off just grinding that to a halt, like because they can play a half court offense, like that. That's fine. I don't think you want to track meet TCU. That would be bad.
No, I agree with you there. I think that's part of the reason I like Gonzaga. I think that they would try to slow it down.
I do too, but part of me thinks Few is so stubborn.
Yeah, no, that's the one concern. I'm hot and cold on Few, man.
He's so stubborn. He wants to do things a very specific. It's almost the opposite of Tony Bennett. He
Yeah,
wants to track meet. He wants to track meet everybody to no end and just run that offense in transition 24/7. No matter what his opponent does, he doesn't care. He thinks his team is better. And I'm just telling you, like Gonzaga TCU in a track meet favors the Frogs.
I just think without Lampkin, they're going to struggle with Timmy on the inside in the half court. That was like
I think they can,
for my like.
I think
Go
the
ahead,
glass
sorry.
will be fine. I think it's but I do think but honestly, I think that's one of those things can like you can survive and I think this is true not just
Yeah,
TCU in general. I think you can survive this Gonzaga team. I think you can survive a Timmy game. A lot of similarities in the way you can survive a Zach Edey game.
yeah, no, you're right there. The 2 points is always it's a point. It's worth a point less than the three after all. So it's
Right.
yeah, that's going to be a. I hope we get that game.
I do
Hope
too.
I really hope we get that game. It's going to be a fun one, man. I guess we don't know yet. I think that one's on Sunday, right?
It would be Sunday with
Yeah,
time TBD.
yeah. That'll be a fun Sunday game.
Yeah,
Who do you think?
I have some conviction, like, and you can probably tell. I mean, I'm pretty sure on the description on here I listed I am a TCU futures holder. So everything that you hear me say about TCU, you have to understand I am also a futures holder. So at like 60-1. So
Good number. That's a good number, man.
yeah, so I am one that is sitting here.
I
Maybe
think that there's probably if for anyone listening, I think that TCU is a team I'd be playing money line rollover this
yeah,
tournament.
I think you're 45-1 now, and you're getting way better than that if you just roll money line rollover.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a dog in.
So
They're going to be a dog in 3 games consecutively potentially.
right. So you're a favorite here. If you get Gonzaga in this matchup, you're definitely a dog.
Plus 160.
Yeah, and then you're looking at and then you're definitely a dog to UCLA, probably in the same nature you were a dog to Gonzaga, like a similar line structure
Yeah,
there. And then no matter who you get of UConn or Kansas or whatever, you're definitely a dog in that game. So I
yeah,
think you're
probably all around plus 160s or higher too, to be honest with you. So you're going to be able to roll over pretty nicely there potentially.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%. I think your
TCU is
money
the one
line
team.
you.
TCU is the one team I don't have a future on that I'm going to be money line rollover with, and Texas. But Texas, it's a little bit lacking the value till you get a little bit farther
Oh
later.
god, dude, did you see that they adjusted their number from like 18-1 to 12-1 this morning?
Yeah, it's just disgusting.
I think even Vegas knows that team's going to the Final Four. I think they're telling you that Texas is going to be in the Final Four. I think Vegas is trying to protect themselves on Texas a little
The
bit.
hold percentage on the futures this year has been insane, man. It's been crazy. It doesn't. I don't remember it being this harsh. I didn't play futures as heavily as I did this year, last year, but like Texas 12-1 with their region. I can see it maybe, but I thought 18-1 was pretty fair. Like,
I thought
I thought it was
18-1 was value. I thought 18-1 was value, knowing what you know, like knowing that they're probably not tested before the Elite Eight, and if you can get that, I think that's part of the reason. I think if it had been a different draw, they don't move the line, but because of how the draw is, I think they were like, yeah, like we need to protect ourselves a little bit in case they go on a run. And upsets are going to happen. So if Houston goes down early and you leave that 18-1 out there, and then Houston goes down, like Texas is probably minus 200 to make the Final Four the moment Houston goes down.
Yeah, you're right there.
So I don't. That's why I think they don't want to toss an 18-1. Sasser's not. We don't know much about Sasser's health. I think it's assumed he's going to be playing, but we don't know if he's going to be 100%.
It's a groin, right?
It's a groin, which
That gives me major concern, man. Major concern. Groins are fucking iffy, dude.
And that's exactly why it's like, I think that's why you see a 12-1 there instead of the 18-1.
I would much rather joint than groin, man, to be honest with you. Like 100%. I'd rather knee or ankle way more than groin if I'm back in Houston. It's soft tissue, soft muscle tissue is just the worst place to be injured, especially in a tournament like that.
Re-aggravate that thing 2 minutes in against that 16 seed, and he'd be done.
And to be honest with you, if that happens, it might be a bit of a game because
really, because
anyone else behind him,
just the shock of that type of moment,
yeah.
All right, so Northwestern Boise State. You talked about you like the Northwestern team. I imagine you're backing them here.
Yeah, high level guard play. Shot makers who can beat Boise State's defense. Boise State's defense is good. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think. You know what? I guess this kind of profiles a little bit like a New Mexico Boise State game in my estimation from their conference. I just think that Northwestern has a higher ceiling than New Mexico Illustrated. Obviously, they're a little bit more balanced. I think Boise State really struggles to score against Northwestern, which not necessarily a lot to do with Northwestern. They just have kind of enough size, enough cohesiveness defensively. Boise State's offense is very underwhelming. I just think Northwestern, those journalists, they get it done. They milk the referees a little bit. They get a little bit of an easy whistle, and I think they cover the spread pretty soundly here. My model has Northwestern as a -3 favorite, so I'm getting out of Pick'em. I'm going to take that all night long. I got it at -106 actually, so that's -125 now. So I guess it's a little bit closer to where my model has it, but I just think that Northwestern's a team. I don't really like Boise State's team at all. I don't like how they play offensively. They kind of remind me of Wisconsin offensively in a sense where they just can really not get good shots for like 4 minutes at a time, not score for 4 minutes at a time. And if that happens, it's going to be tough to win a game. So,
I think this one comes down to who plays better between Boo and Marcus Shaver. I really think that's where this gets decided. From bracket purposes, if I could have the basketball gods down and let me unlock one game to see the result, I think this would be it. I really do think it comes down to who plays better between those guards. I'll probably roll with Northwestern. I'm not sure that I'll bet it unless I just get some stronger feelings over the next couple of days. But I'll probably roll with Northwestern, especially just knowing that I like all the other 10 seeds. I think the 10 seeds never a clean sweep. It doesn't feel like.
Yeah, that's part of my unconscious reasoning. I'm looking at my bracket now. I got 10, 10. I got 7 here, so I guess I have A&N going through. So I got 2 and 2. Maybe that makes a lot of sense. Hopefully, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'll probably roll with the Wildcats. I also want to cheer for them. I really don't want to cheer against them.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat
because it's Northwestern. And they suck at most everything. But yeah, UCLA, UNC Asheville. I think this is relatively uninteresting, but I'll tell you what, UNC Asheville does have some St. Peter's type vibes because they have a white guy who can really play. Drew Pember's going to be a legit problem for the Bruins.
This total seems a little bit low to me. I don't love playing overs. I've kind of said that already. I've already played an over, so I'll probably wait to see if it goes a little bit lower. I'm just checking the line history, seeing if it's moved at all. But 135, I know, it's not moved at all. Not moved a cent yet. 135, I know UCLA is kind of without Jalen Clark. They played pretty slow in the Pac-10 tournament. They really slowed it down. Let the two guards kind of dictate the tempo of the game. A lot of pick and roll, a lot of deep into the shot clock possessions. But I think that like you said, Asheville's got some guys who can score. Their defense leaves a lot to be desired. I think they're going to get killed on the offensive glass. I just
Yeah.
don't know if I want to lay the points with UCLA. I don't.
It's a
17 and
stay
a half.
away it's a stay away or a bet the total game for me. I
Yeah.
do think Drew Pember gets off in this game, and I think if you're gonna bet the spread, I think you take into account that Drew Pember could get off, and that would probably lead you to back Asheville, but I'm not at all racing to the window to fade UCLA, even the beat up version of UCLA.
Yeah, I think this is one of my crown jewels this season. UCLA was my preseason number one team. They've kind of illustrated to me that they meant business all year. I'm just
It's a
hoping.
good draw. It would have been a good draw for them if they'd been healthy.
Yeah,
Relative.
no, especially against Gonzaga. I think they match up really well if they get Gonzaga, especially with Jalen Clark. He's just such a stopper defensively. It was 2 weekends ago when he went down with that Achilles injury. I was screaming into a pillow that night. It was frustrating, but I think maybe they galvanize around it. Maybe they have a more of a no one believes in us type of atmosphere. Nick Cronin, I love Nick. A little bastard on the sideline, bald-headed fuck, but he's just an absolute dog out there. Uh, he's just such a silly guy. I love that guy. So I'm hoping they can still go on a deep run. If they get to the Elite Eight, I can start looking to hedge out. I don't think they have the ceiling to win the national championship anymore, sadly,
I
though.
don't either. I think they're totally matchup dependent now.
Yeah, you and me both, and that kind of hurts. But we'll see how it unfolds. I think they have enough offensively to get past UNC Asheville and Northwestern and Boise State. When they play Gonzaga or TCU, it'll be. I think against TCU, it's not an awful matchup, to be honest with you. But the
It
Gonzaga
really
one,
depends. TCU is so much whether or not the jump shots go in. Like it feels like, but UCLA would grind it to a halt, and that would be a
yeah,
matchup that favors them a good bit.
yeah, they can also handle the offensive glass, their defensive glass, keep TCU off the offensive glass pretty well. They
Especially
do.
without and yeah.
Yeah, so I think that'll be. I'm my futures tickets are hoping that it's Gonzaga, that's TCU. So we're in the same boat there. We can see a UCLA get TCU Sweet 16. That'll be a
Yeah,
fun
I do
game to
think the
start
only
with.
thing with UCLA would be in that matchup is I think the only there is definitely a world where Mike Miles goes for 40 in that matchup.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. They don't have the wings to stop them at all anymore.
No, and no with no Jalen Clark, you're like Mike Miles could get off there, and really Damian Ball could too. Like both those guards would be significant problems for UCLA because they wouldn't really have anybody that could guard them in the half court off the dribble drive.
Yeah,
So that it would be really fascinating to kind of see where the line would move, what it would look like. Kind of you would
yeah,
obviously UCLA favored, but
yeah, it'll be interesting. That's another spot where the TCU money line roll, or if there's one takeaway from this, I think we can both agree. If you want a tournament long type of play, that's the one to go to. I don't know if you have any other ones that you like, but I think TCU it's going to be a battle. You might lose it in the second game of the run, but I think that there's going to be a potential to cash a big ticket at the end of it because I do think that they can win the national championship without Lampton still. I think I'd probably like them, especially if Houston goes out, especially if we see some upsets. I have 3 2s and a 1 getting to my Final Four. That's not going to happen. So we'll see how it unfolds. But
yeah. So last thing before we get out of here, anything down here on Tuesday or Wednesday that you're gonna play for sure?
yeah, I'm going to take Arizona State against Nevada.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, I don't think Nevada should have gotten in. I guess we've seen in the past that's meant that team's kind of gone on a bit of a run. I got it at what I think money's coming in a little bit on ACU. I see it at -1.5 in some shops, -2.5 on Pinnacle up here in Canada. That's what I use as the gold standard, like the American circus, so to speak, where you kind of, they might have the highest limits. They take the biggest bets. I think ACU gets it done. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of Hurley, but I think they have enough to get past the Nevada team who they had a nice run from about January 15th to about the end of February, but I just I don't believe in this offense and defensively. I think Arizona State can do enough to score against them. The Texas Southern Fairleigh Dickinson one I have a little bit of interest in. I have to dig a little bit deeper. I played Fairleigh Dickinson and Texas Southern pretty aggressively in their conferences to obviously
I would lean Texas Southern.
yeah, you and me both. I think Fairleigh Dickinson they're very reliant on getting on the 3-point shot to a certain extent and getting offensive rebounds. They don't really their offense isn't overly they don't create a whole lot of possessions. They don't push the ball that much. They don't create any turnovers. They basically put zero ball pressure. And Texas Southern can kind of score more than I thought they were going to be able to. I watched a bunch of their games. I think they're going to have a pretty sizable size advantage, length advantage on Fairleigh Dickinson. I'm just double checking that line. I hadn't looked at it. Yeah, Texas Southern -2. I like that one too. So I like. I guess we got two picks for the other first four. I like Arizona State -2. I like two favorites. So that always goes well.
Yeah, I think that's all. I'll probably look to bet Pitt just because they can score and I'll get points for it. And I'll
Yeah, I
just hope.
don't hate that look. I don't hate that look at all either.
Yeah,
I,
so I'll
I
probably look
just
to back those two.
I don't trust their coaching right now, but maybe I'll
Yeah,
be proven wrong on that
I'm
one.
scanning to see if there's another money line rollover. I mean, a Creighton money line rollover would make sense as well.
Yeah,
That's
if you
really
like Creighton like I do, that's the one. Those are the two I've been looking at. I'm going to play TCU for sure. I'll probably end up playing Creighton and maybe bail out at a certain point if I feel like it makes sense to. I think I'll
well,
probably
yeah,
remove TCU
a
until the end.
Duke or Kentucky money line rollover would also make sense.
Yeah, especially when no, that's a good call. That's a very good
I
call.
think those two. And if you really wanted to get wild, you could FAU money line rollover.
Yeah, you'd be looking at some big payouts. That's some big payouts.
FAU Memphis money line rollover, I think is what you would be. I think that's what you'd be looking at.
Yeah, I've been trying to fight the good fight on Twitter the past 24 hours, telling people, hey, don't take the futures. If you like a team to go to the Final Four or to win the championship, just play the money line rollover. It's the no fun game, but it's kind of the way to do it at this point of the season. The artificial hold that the books have on these futures is just killing it. Like it's just it's unjust what they do sometimes to the people, but that's a story for another day.
Yep. All right, we've been here for 2 hours, so we'll get out of here.
Yeah, time flew by, brother. It felt like we were just talking. That was nice.
I know. So before we go, give people two things. Tell people where you can find you and anything you're working on, and also tell people who you have winning this thing.
So you can find me on Twitter at Dakuchi Bets. And then if you want my everyday write-ups and analysis, you can follow my Substack. It's Coochie versus the Bookie. The link's in my bio on Twitter. I'm on all the other social platforms, just significantly less. I don't necessarily like making video content all the time by myself, editing and stuff. My eyes aren't very good at syncing those things up, and I always feel a little bit cringe. I love writing, so I try to do about, depending on the day, I like to do about 2,000 words every day on the plays I'm looking at. So it's a nice resource. Some of it's top down, some of it's kind of steam chasing, so you get a little bit of both in terms of my methodology. Other than that, who I have winning it, I know this is going to be a little bit maybe chalk, but I got Texas winning the national championship here. I think they get it done when it comes to shove. Hook them. I don't have a future on it. That's why I'm going to money line roll over it. I like my Final Four. If you've not seen it on Twitter, it's UCLA, Marquette, Texas, and Alabama. I think Texas beats Marquette in the final.
All right, hook 'em, baby, hook 'em for all of us. I hope that's true. So you can follow me on Twitter at WalkerBailey818. Go follow Off the Ball Network, and there'll be tons of bracket content there. We're actually running a bracket contest over there, so you can go and insert. I don't know the rules, but you can go put your brackets in there. I think we're going to do some cool giveaways with that type of stuff. So I'll be in it. You can laugh at me as I just hilariously failed trying to cap this thing.
I'll be
But
there too, my friend. I'll be there too. I'm gonna get as many as I can.
as hot as I was last week, that just means that this week is going to be no fun. So
yeah, I'm hoping that I can pick up your hotness from this call because, like I said, I was just dog shit last week, man. I usually do my best work on the futures market. Went 1-8, 1-7. So it was ugly times. And then, like we talked about, I'm a man who goes down with the ship. So if the futures aren't hitting, the bets aren't hitting either.
I could tell mine were going the wrong way when Montana lost to 11-22 Northern Arizona as a 5.5 point favorite in a semifinal game. So, Takuchi, thanks for joining us, man. This is a ton of fun. We'll do this again. Maybe before the second weekend, we'll reconvene and just either mourn, celebrate. We'll see. We'll figure it all out.
Hopefully a bit of both. Hopefully we get some champagne and some caviar to go with these, man. Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure. Anytime you need me, I'll be here.
All right, man.
Have a good one.